Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise, over on Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen, where you can find any and all updates pertaining to the show and guest announcements every single Tuesday. Alright, if you have any questions during the live airing of the show, go ahead and send them over on Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen. If you have them of the week, email them to eljayjohnsen@gmail.com. Okay, disclaimers all out of the way. There are a lot of them. Let's go ahead and get into the meat potatoes of this show. It's a big one, and I'm super excited. This is the tale of two men who went out in the world to make their dreams come true and live their lives to the fullest. Combining their awesome powers of imagination and friendship, there is no challenge too great for these two men. And I am, of course, talking about none other than Nick Vas and Toothdominoes from LEGO. How are you guys doing today?
Hello.
That was a great intro.
Is
that like the plot? Is that like the plot summary of Gurren Lagann or something? You just.
It's close. It's based. It's definitely based off of one of those intros.
Great.
But
that's wonderful.
There's a third person here, and he is more than welcome to jump in at any point. It is, of course, yet another individual from LEGO, Corvin.
Also
Hello.
Following his dreams and excelling through the power of friendship.
Yes.
Yes.
Is he like Buta then?
Yes. Yeah.
If I don't.
That's a weird
I don't feel so
situation.
good. I think I'm gonna die in a couple of episodes.
Yeah, sorry, pal. Adios.
But it will be very inspiring.
It will be. We'll carry on your hopes and dreams. All right.
Yeah. I guess should we take turns to introduce ourselves?
Yeah. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. Let us know who you are, what you do, and we'll go off from there.
So my name is Nick. I am online. I was formerly known as Brickthing, but now I go by Prince Galidor. I'm a Lego designer. I've been with Lego for 4 years. Originally from New Zealand, but now I'm living in Denmark. And I've been working on. I was working on Ninjago for the sort of first 3 years, Ninjago, and then the Ninjago movie, and then more recently I've been working on the Lego Movie 2.
Okay. All right. And Nick?
What do you got? I've been working for Lego for almost 3 years now. Soon 3 years. August is my anniversary, and I worked on booths. I am a designer for Lego Ideas. I worked on the new Lego Voltron set that's coming up, and right now I'm part of a department that develops new concepts for things like Nexo or Ninjago. And last week I did some new stuff for Ninjago 2020, which is exciting.
Ooh.
So that's kind of the things that I do. Occasionally I work on completely new stuff, and then other times I work on some of the early exploration themes.
Mm-hmm.
Future.
Hey, Corvin,
Everything is Chrome.
what are you usually up to?
Yeah, Corvin, that's my name. And I've been with LEGO since 3.5 years now. And I have been working on LEGO City for that time. Which is, that's the project I've been with from the start. And I've helped out with a couple of other projects here and there, just sneakily helping out with some small things, but mainly City. And
And one of the things that unites the three of us is sneakily helping out on Bionicle G2. We work together on the Makuta combiner model.
Yes.
And so we all kind of come from the same background in the Lego community, where we all grew up with Bionicle.
Let me try
but had sort of moved system things as well.
There we go. There that is. So I've got a picture of the aforementioned Makuta on screen now. I know we've already been over this. I've asked each three of you in prior instances, be it Makuta Fest or even in person at Brick Fair, but now that I have the three of you here with an image of said model on screen, I gotta ask, Were the instructions okay? Were they all right?
They were just fine. They
Yes.
After the update video, yes, they were.
Oh,
They were.
okay. Thank goodness.
But we all know that everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes you build something incorrectly, and sometimes you put in one too many ball joints. So it's errors are human.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was an incident that happened because we're sitting there at Brick Fair finishing it up. Then had just managed to figure out the contraption that was the staff, and there's this extra ball joint that was needed. It's like,
I'm
we're
amazed
out
you
of
figured
ball
it out.
joints.
The staff is thanks to Nick, his little black box. But I would like to formally take or officially take credit for the mistake of the one extra ball joint, and apologize, but defend myself in the notion that this is in fact a homage to one of the best combiner sets of G1, which was the Fecal Spider, formed from Pohatu and Anua, which also requires one extra voodoo ball.
Yes.
Great. So what you're telling me
It
is
was planned
Makuta from G2 is it's just a giant Fiku spider homage.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, essentially, that was all part of the plan.
Okay, yeah, all right. So to get this out of the way, when are we getting that Mask of Ultimate Power that isn't a sticker? No.
Well, I mean, you already have, and it's the sticker.
Oh,
That was one of our gifts to the Bino community that we really wanted to get into a set.
okay.
You had no idea how many strings we had to pull to get that in.
For real?
Yeah, we pulled in a lot of favors on that one,
Well,
definitely.
I appreciate it. I like that it is in some way, shape, or form in a set. Although I must say I'm a little more partial to the Island of Matsui, just because it's just so beautiful. And I figure that's a pretty good segue into things as it stands. How did you guys get into Lego? How did you guys get into community works, into mocking, just into the hobby, and eventually into officially designing sets for the company?
I started with Duplo, I think. When I was quite young. I don't remember exactly how old I was when I got my first Duplo set. But I do remember getting a set one day from my father. He came home and he gave this particular set to me, which was a Pohatu Mata set in a lovely canister.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a little bit of a system beforehand, but Pohatu was amazing. It was a really cool set. I loved kicking around the little boulder. And from that point onwards, I was hooked. And kind of continued getting Barnacle sets all throughout the years. I dropped out a little bit in 2004 to 7-ish. So I kind of missed all the flashback stuff, and that was very confusing to get back into. Figure out who these people were now in 2007. And so to help out with that, I discovered a BZ Power and was able to figure out a bit more of the lore and the lore of the story, and sort of tiptoed my way into interacting with the community, bit by bit, and then eventually started building with Barnacle and entering BBCC contests. I found Eurobooks. I found Flickr as well. Mock Pages had some great building contests. I was part of an awesome group of people called Team Jigsaw, and we collaborated together on at first mockathlon contests. So that also encouraged me to expand my building sort of styles. So I was mostly building with Barnacle, but I started mixing in a bit more system, trying out some different things.
Mm-hmm.
We also collaborated together on a Lego Ideas, or Kusu at the time, project called Thinking with Portals. And so it was kind of like a roller coaster of sort of gradually getting more and more involved in the community. It eventually led to me flying over to the States to go to BrickCon. And around the same time, I had also just sort of on the side been like collating the things I had been building online and putting it into a small portfolio, and applying to Lego designer positions that were sort of being posted on the Lego Jobs website. It wasn't so much a serious thing. It was just like, well, this could be fun as something to do, but I didn't really expect that I would hear back from them. And I applied a couple of times. I didn't really hear back, but every time I would improve my CV, so just and my portfolio. So taking the most recent things I'd been making, occasionally doing some more sketches and focused things specifically for that. And then around the time that I went to BritCon, I also heard back from Lego, and I was being invited to go to, well, first for a sort of Skype interview, and then invited to fly to Denmark for a 3-day sort of recruitment workshop. And so I think it was at BritCon that I heard that I was being invited to go to Denmark. So it was quite fun to figure out some things while far away from home. And it just kind of, so again, kind of spun out of control from there. It was a workshop in October of 2013, I think, and it was a sort of a day's worth of flight from New Zealand on one side of the world all the way to Denmark on the complete opposite side of the world. I think there's a point in Italy which is the furthest away, but essentially Denmark doesn't get much further. Like New Zealand doesn't get much further from Denmark.
My goodness.
So it took a week to have a 3-day workshop plus travel time. And somehow I also managed to avoid the jet lag enough in order to build some things that some people at Lego thought were cool enough to ask for me to come back to work for Ninjago. Wow. And they offered me this, and I was like, oh yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Yes, please. So I started in January of 2014 working on Ninjago as a junior designer, and doing a lot of concept work. It was really fun for the first year and a half, I think. It was a year and a half from the point that I started until the time that my first Lego set came out, which was the Master Wu Dragon, I think.
Oh.
So that was quite fun for that time to not be able to tell any of my friends or my family what exactly it was that I was doing, because I could say, yeah, I'm playing with Lego all day.
They just had no idea.
But I can't go into any more details than that.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. That's quite a journey coming up from being a part of the community to then working officially. And I mean, you're responsible for my absolute all-time favorite system set. So thank you for that. Like Ninjago City is just, it's amazing. But
thank you. I mean, that was a team effort to which Nick also helped, and yeah, it was especially a lot of people. I know Corvin helped out with a few sketch things as well.
Well, in that case,
predominantly Christopher Stamp.
Thank all you guys and the people that are not present at the moment, because it's, I mean, obviously enough, it's amazing, but almost everything that comes out that you guys work on seems to be particularly excellent.
I mean, coming from the community, we have a lot to live up to. So we always look back look back and look forwards at our compatriots in the community for inspiration and setting the bar.
That makes sense. All right, fair enough. In that case, Nick, what about you? How did you get into the Lego and eventually into the community and as a set designer?
Yeah, my story's a little bit less laid back, and it was more of a endless struggle of well, there was an end. Is there an end? Maybe there'll be an end sometime.
Not over yet.
It's not an end yet, right? But it was of course, starting off with Duplo. I had an older sister who had a bunch of Duplo already, so for as long as I can remember, I played. As early as I can remember, I played with Duplo. Move on to system. I think the first real system set that I considered to be mine was 6625. It's speed trackers. It's like a tiny little police car with a giant like spaceship canopy on it. I left that set. It was great because it allowed me to build a whole bunch of weird stuff. And then obviously I always liked robots and mechs and all that kind of stuff. So when Robot Riders and Slicers came out, I was really big into that. I remember building just with that for quite a long time. And then when Bionicle hit, I was over the moon because it's basically like Slicers on steroids, right? We got even more new pieces to build with. And then I kind of focused much more on construction and on other system themes up until a certain point. I think it was around 2006 or so. I started building more system stuff. And then I went through a Technic phase, and then I, of course, always kept up to date with Bionicle, or up to date as I could be, without fully understanding, having a full grasp of the English language. It was fun trying to follow Bionicle, especially trying to play the Mountain Nui online game without knowing English. It's really,
Oh my god!
Really an experience I can recommend.
Oh yeah.
Especially Monog 2, because that was I really never understood why I never got my witch. That was
Trust me, no one ever does.
Did you at least get to finish it?
No, of course not. No, it's impossible. If you don't understand what anyone is saying, you're just like, well, I could literally talk to every person right now, but the timing is apparently also very important. So
I mean, it's hard enough even when you do know what they're saying. It's just a miserably difficult game.
Also on a dial-up modem.
Oh gosh!
On an old computer.
And even if you do everything right, it still might glitch out on you.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Hence my question, because I never got it. Anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked watching your playthrough of it. It gave me some closure to my life.
Oh, thank goodness. Whew. It was worth it for someone then. I'm glad.
The Coley stuff is so ridiculously hard. Anyhow, so Bionicle. I like Bionicle a lot, and then I was especially around 2007 till when it ended. I was really deep into it, and I liked it a lot. And then once it died, I kind of just went back to system Technic stuff. And then I went to university and didn't have time to do anything anymore. Basically, I wanted to always be a LEGO designer, so I went to university. I went to high school on doing all sorts of courses I never really wanted to do, but I knew that they'd give me a better shot at getting this job, so I did them anyways. Science and math and all that stuff that you definitely be doing, kids. Go to school, take math, take physics, chemistry too. It's all important. Definitely need it later in your life. And then I went to university, studied industrial design, and kind of put LEGO on the back burner a little bit because I just didn't have time for it much. And then in my third year of my bachelor's degree, I applied for an internship at LEGO as a model builder, and I got that working on Boost back when it was still in concept phase. So I worked on concept phase for about half a year, and then for half a year I worked on finishing a model. So I'm partially responsible for the Vernie robot. I'm pretty much 90% responsible for the guitar, and I worked on the Frankie the cat a lot, as well as the rover.
Oh, wow.
And at that point in time, I had been working with Nick during a Creative Boost week, which is a week where, as designers, we get to do any idea we like to work on for a week. And we came up with a new idea for a thing for LEGO, and they liked that so much that they offered me to write my bachelor thesis at LEGO. So finishing my education at LEGO would allow me not to move back home again, so I could stay in Denmark, finish my education, and then hopefully get hired by the end of it. And I did. I wrote my bachelor thesis and finished university. It was very close, but I finished it. So yeah, always finish university, kids. It's important. Don't drop out, especially after 3.5 years of studying and paying for classes.
Especially the paying.
So I finished it. Yeah. And then I landed a job in the concept department. And in the meantime, I've been kind of always working for ideas, because it's kind of like if you're passionate enough, you can do some idea stuff just on the side. And I started working with Sam, the creative lead currently on ideas, on the Voltron model in late 2016, just testing feasibility and stuff. And then I I finished it sometime this year sometime, and it's coming out sometime this year. That's very exciting for me because obviously super robots are one of my favorite things on the planet.
Yeah,
and being able to work on this project is absolutely fantastic for me.
just looking at your Flickr, there are a lot of mechs and very large posable figures, so I can definitely tell what you're kind of passionate about in that regard. And you are responsible for convincing me to get the Fire Mech from Ninjago, just based off a very brief Twitter correspondence where you explained the thought process behind why it didn't have any knee articulation, which I thought was absolutely fascinating.
Yes, I mean mech building. I come from the community. I've always been a fan builder. I've never really posted much stuff because I was always a little too insecure with everybody else, their awesome stuff. And I was always a little bit hesitant towards posting my stuff because it was like, oh, I don't think it's good enough yet. So maybe next year, you know. But yeah, I know that the mech community is like extremely passionate, and they love like mechs, and I know that articulation is normally a very big point in making fan mechs, but there's a quite big difference between what a fan build is and a product from safety regulations and standards. So that's why I like having these kind of conversations where it's just like, well, yeah, kids don't really get when a model gets this big, especially when it has to stand over a long time and have some kind of resilience to it.
Yeah, no, and it's a very interesting kind of background perspective, especially for me, a consumer who would get a set and not have any of that background information. Like, even in a review, I would say something that maybe I didn't like, or that maybe restricted what I think would be best for the set. But hearing that background information, that thought process, makes way more sense than anything I would ever think would actually work. And it really does put a new perspective on it that I don't think a lot of people, even in the community actively, take into account.
I mean, it's especially when you consider the fact that you're trying to make products for a big mass of consumers. Like understanding that the people who have the most passion for it probably will have a better understanding of how to handle something that's delicate. Like there's just so many different weird factors in making a product for a wide audience that the very specific audience that knows a lot about it often will have something about it that they do or do not like. It's for me, it's so easy to be like, there's so many people online that built Fire Mech with knees that I'm just like, yeah, that's exactly the reason why. Like, just build knees in it, because if you know how to build knees, you probably know how to take care of the model instead of just putting on a shelf and never touching it again, and then after a while it will sag or something will happen to the knees. So it's fine. It all works out for me, in my opinion.
But Nick, but then the set is in stock, and we can't have that happen. We have to follow the instructions.
Exactly. I'm going.
Have you watched the Lego movie?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's a movie I can refer to here. I don't.
Excuse me. The only Lego movie that I've seen is Clutch Powers.
Clutch Powers. Oh yeah, baby.
I love that film.
We often talk about this movie at work. Actually, it's surprising how often it gets brought up. Whenever somebody's like, "Well, we never made a Lego movie before." Oh, yes, we did. Definitely.
I've only seen it once, and that was like.
And it's funny because we're kind of at work because we are like Lego fans, and there's a lot of employees that are Lego fans, but also a lot that are not. And Lego fans are almost like the cultists. They're like, "Do you know if they ever did this?" And it's like, "Well, let me open my big book of brick set and show you. This is what we did in this era." And it's fun. We have a very special place within the organization where sometimes we're just like, "Oh, they're just fans. They just want their stupid fan things." But then sometimes they're actually like, maybe we should make sure these people know what we're talking about.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's fair enough.
I saw Kevin's comment, by the way. He was I actually met Kevin Hinkle while I was an intern, and my good friend Carl introduced me as the intern, and then hopefully next time you're here, he'll still be here. And it was good.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us to listen in, Kevin.
A time of uncertainty.
Kevin, get ready for that pizza. Get ready.
Oh yeah.
Gonna be some good
Pizza
pizza.
pineapple. I love pineapple on pizza. I'll tell you that.
Yes. Oh, okay, excellent. What about you two?
I didn't realize that pizza on pineapple was an uncommon thing.
You mean pineapple on pizza?
Pizza on pineapple. Yeah. I have pizza on my pineapple all the time. You can get like smaller pizzas though to fit them. But yeah, that was totally normal.
I've never known pineapple on pizza to not be a thing.
Yes.
Like, that's been around as long as I can remember, so...
Yes. All right. Great. Kevin, see? Witness testimony. Wait. Okay,
From quite international testimony.
Yes. This is perfect. It's a global phenomenon, and it's good. It's delicious. Don't listen to anyone that says otherwise. Unless, they're just saying it's a personal opinion. In that case, they're perfectly, they're within their right to have a personal opinion. But I digress. Actually, speaking of you, Corvin, what about you? How did you kind of get into things and get into the community and eventually becoming a designer?
Yes, so my journey started back in 1994.
Whoa.
Which is, yes, it's easy. I was born in 1990, so it's quite easy to remember when I was, anyway. And my first set was apparently a little moon buggy with an astronaut from the Town series at the time, which was then quickly followed by a classic. You remember those old buckets that had the big studs on the top?
Oh, yeah.
It's classic system bucket. That was then, and then afterwards a couple more town sets, and then I kind of got thrown into the deep end because when I was 5 or so, a friend of the family gave me the model team big rig with a helicopter on the flatbed in the back, and so that was a bit of a challenge with at that age. Mm-hmm. And from there on, I kind of just kept it going. This was at the end of the 90s. Started then. Star Wars. My parents introduced me to Star Wars when I was 7. Then 2 years later, LEGO did actually do the Star Wars sets. Up until that point, I had to build it for myself, the models. And from there on, it just kept on going throughout school. And where a lot of kids around, 12, 13, 14, around that time, how they sort of drop out a lot more. I just never did. So I just kept on building. Not a huge amount a lot of the time, and then the same thing as Nick said was Bionicle happened, and I also got super hooked on that. So the story came out, and we got the teaser in the Lego Club magazine and everything, and I was just like, I need to know more. And the other thing that was kind of intriguing about it was back then in the days of dial-up modems, when you wanted to play the Matanui online game, which was released in episodes, there was a lot of replay value in that game just by the virtue of that it was released episodically, and the internet connection was so slow that I think I spent 90% of the time just looking at the little Matanui loading screen.
It builds up
I can still see it at night sometimes when I try to fall asleep. So yes, and then Bionicle, and then eventually I sort of started falling a little out of the system stuff, except for the Star Wars sets. And then the next thing that happened was in around 2006. I had joined Brickshelf with some of the system builds and Star Wars MOCs I'd done, and then DVDs had become big at the time. So what I'd realized around that time through watching like DVD extra material was that there's people out there whose entire job is to design stuff for movies and franchises in general. And I realized that's an actual job. Like, you can draw droids for Star Wars and just dragons for Lord of the Rings and stuff. I was like, I want to do that too. So that's sort of where the whole inspiration to get into design came from. And so was Bionic, and then so that's sort of how I slid into the fan community or got suckered into that, was that I found people who drew like Bionicle fan art. And since I'd already started on this of like I kind of want to do drawing professionally, and Bionicle was really big at the time, that sort of intersected in a way where I was like, okay, there's these people out there drawing this fan art of Bionicle, and I found like, I don't know how well you remember Brickshelf because it's not really active anymore today, but
Brickshelf was like 90% of my life.
It was,
the ages of like
but
14
finding
and it's 16 or something like that. I think I literally kept up to date with Brickshelf, where it's just like I'm just gonna keep looking through all these pages and opening new tabs of all the stuff that I'm interested in until I've caught up with myself. Where it's like, oh no, I've already seen that spaceship.
Yes. All the BZ Power images for blogs out of context must have been really strange to you.
Yes. Yeah. But that's the thing though, because Brickshelf was only an image hosting service, so there was no social interaction. So you found an image, and then finding the people that did that was a bit tricky. Speaking of which, funny side note, if you go on Brickshelf nowadays, there's still like a folder in the most popular section that is just like vehicles, standard town, city stuff vehicles, and I always had that folder as an inspiration when I started out. Turns out that's actually one of our senior designers, Pierre in City, who's been here for 10 years now, and I never knew that until we just last year talked about it randomly, and then he was like, oh yeah, I used to do MOCs and everything. I was like, oh yeah, show me some, and I was like, that was you. I remember you. So just like this difference of like 10 years between finding his original MOCs and then actually meeting the person that did that.
What a small world.
Yeah, it happens surprisingly often actually at work, where it's just like you had this one MOC that you really liked when you were like a kid, and then you just like arrive here and it's like, oh yeah, you at some point talk about MOC. It's like, I love this one thing. It's like, oh yeah, it was this and this person that made it. Oh, see. Or it's like, oh yeah, I made that.
Yes.
Everyone knows everyone.
So eventually I figured out that these images were going, sort of leading, that led me to BZ Power eventually in 2006. So I opened an account there. I got involved in the Bionicle discussion and everything. And from then on, my interest in, or my activity in the community was mostly as system MOCs on one side and drawing artwork on the other hand. Mm-hmm. And then in 2010, I had just finished my sort of civil service in Germany, because up to that point we still had a draft. So after school, I couldn't immediately start studying. I had to do like a community service thing as an alternative to like a military draft. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I applied for design colleges, and I wound up with one in Germany that studied game design, because I also started to get into gaming a bit, and I thought, oh, hey, these guys are teaching like 3D and concept art and all that stuff, so I really want to get in on that, like Nick said, to get a better shot at being able to apply later on. Mm-hmm. So that happened, but in between that, I had like a half-year break, and in that half-year break, I decided to do a little travel of North America, which was the first time where I attended Brick Fair. Now, so this was before the days of Mr. Hinkle.
Those
yes,
existed?
I know. Yes, there was times before Kevin.
Dark days.
Not better time. Yes, dark days. It took a while, but I met at that convention. I met Jamie Berard, the lead designer on the Creator Expert series, and one of our more well-known colleagues. Mm-hmm. And we also talked a little bit about that, and my wanting to be a Lego designer potentially in the future, and he was very encouraging to that in that regard as well. So that was sort of the real starting point where I got into the whole AFOL community as a not just as a lurker online, but as an active participant at conventions. I've attended Brick Fair every year since then, and got involved in the building community on Flickr. Mm-hmm. Mostly like the guys who build like it was more on the real life side, jet planes, a couple of like armored transports, things like that. So I would fell more on that side of the spectrum for builders, not so much the giant mechs. And then while I was And then while I was studying game design in my last year, while writing my bachelor thesis, I also started applying for Lego. And it took me a couple of attempts. My first attempt was right while I was still in that last year. And then the second time I applied as an intern. And because then that was after I finished studying, I was still, in my mind, I was a student, but I wasn't studying anywhere at the point in time. So since the Lego internship that they had open at the time was just for people that were currently students, that didn't work out either. So I just bided my time and kept refining my portfolio and I kept looking at the Lego.com job offer sites the entire time. And then after that, I started a job at a company that two of my instructors in game design had that were local to the area. And so I worked for them as a community manager. So I spent about a year and a half working on that. So if you've ever been if you were on the Guild Wars forums in 2014 or so, and you misbehaved, I might have been the one to sort of kick you off there.
Well, that's fine.
That was yeah. So that was one of the responsibilities. And then finally, one of my applications went through, and they invited, Nico said, they invited me to a Skype interview. And then that went really well. And then afterwards, I also went to a 3-day workshop here in Billund. And then afterwards, there were a lot of very talented people at that workshop. Our fellow colleague Justin Ramsden was there. We started at the same time. And so when we left that workshop, they told us, "Oh, we'll get back to you within 2 weeks." So I went home after that workshop, very, very nervous. Because just the amount of people we were there was, I think we were 26, almost 30 people, in just that round just that round of applicants. And then 3 days later, I get a call from our vice president here, and at first I thought it was well, it's only been 3 days. This certainly is a rejection. Then he actually offered me the job. So I was quite over the moon and immediately said yes. Then I was flown out here in January 2015, and I've never left since.
Wow. My goodness.
Literally, never left Billund.
Yes.
Well, in that case,
you know how it is. Billund is a black hole. That sucks. No.
I've been hearing, and I guess at that rate, Break Fair 2016-17, that was an illusion or a robot clone that you sent out in your place, yeah?
Well,
astral projection.
It's a bit of it's like the Flying Dutchman in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's once a year you can set foot outside of Billund, but you always have to return.
That makes a lot more sense. I understand. All right. Wow. Okay, so we got you guys' stories. We know how you got involved. Surprisingly, and I mean, guys, I hate to break it to you, but you all got into Bionicle and the Bionicle community. Guys, Bionicle isn't real Lego. Come on.
No, not really. No, it's not.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Good.
Galidor, no, that's truly the spirit of life.
Oh, of course.
Although I'm looking at those Bionicle canisters on the
sound of
shelf
that.
here, and they say Technic, so
That's wrong.
So I didn't nearly talk to enough people back then to even care about the fact that Bionicle was in real Lego. I was just oh, I like this. I like building with this. Oh, I can see this as one of the many different tools I can use it in my tool set to build weird stuff. Robots mostly. I mean, ball joints. As a kid, I was already obsessed with building robots, so more ball joints is great. I remember when the Exoforce first came out with the second launch with the 2x2 bricks with ball joints and ball cups on it. I think that may have been the most pivotal moment in my life.
Oh
this is great. Yes.
pivotal. I get it.
To be honest, building with Bionicle was also was also like a really good start for me as well. I didn't learn building with Lego bricks at first. I was building with Bionicle pieces, and just because of the way that the system is, a lot of the sets had limb pieces and foot pieces, very specific parts. When you're building your own things, you really do need to start to look at parts in different ways in order to be able to like use a foot as a shoulder armor or some such, weapons as claws and as details. So you start looking at pieces as shapes rather than as what they're supposed to be, and that's kind of a mindset of like creative building that sort of helped lead into system again. When you start building with system, you're often thinking sort of in layers and in grid, where everything has studs that connects in a certain way, whereas with Bionicle it was all about there's no direction to anything. Anything can kind of connect from any side. So it would have been quite. I think it helped me a lot to learn a system from the wrong side. When I started working at Lego, I needed to sort of learn how to build things in one direction.
Properly.
It is quite.
Yeah.
It is
that
quite
was actually a learning curve to unlearn all of the weird and unusual connections that I had figured out, coming from a construction background instead.
So in that instance, would you guys recommend, maybe for mockists generally, or potential set designers, individuals who are interested in doing this more professionally, would you recommend getting into it or attempting to, just being enthusiasts via construction or system, or just basically however works best? It doesn't even matter at that rate.
Just
do whatever
however works best. Just trying to build lots of different things. Pushing yourself to build from themes that you haven't. So if you tend to build cars a lot, maybe try building some castles.
No, just build
or try building some mechs. Maybe build some castle-themed mechs or car themed mechs, so that you get
a theme like that recently.
Variety of
God, no.
different experiences.
It's still too early. It hurts too much.
I'm sorry. I liked it.
But then, I mean, building Lego sets is nice to get an understanding of sort of how Lego sets need to be built. I started building Lego sets a lot more after I started working as a designer, because then it's kind of like reading a book in the library where you kind of can learn tips and tricks of how to build things in a
set
Lego
you
way.
buy and build is basically just another like look into somebody else's brain for full solutions. See how can you tackle certain things, how can you build certain ideas.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend building too many sets that I've designed, because it's a look into a really weird. Don't stare too deep.
Well, actually, to be fair, it's not. It's a filtered look. There's somebody in building instructions who makes sense of the madness.
Yes. Oh, there was so many amazing things that I did not manage to get into Ninjago City, for good reason too. But without a filter, like other people building alongside with me to keep me in check, it wouldn't have been a great experience at all. I can guarantee it. There's a door halfway up through the model that it's a light gray door that's used to keep some movie posters in, and it is the only door of that kind in the set. There isn't I think if it's the left variety,
It's the left-handed door that's not in there.
But I was like earlier in development of the set attempting to hide a door inside the bottom foundation level. That would have been the opposite door. So there was actually a spot where you could use it as support for placing on the path, but the other people building with me, Chris, said, like, why are you not just using a 1x3 brick here? I was like, well, it's really important that you get this other door in the model. But he's like, look, this isn't the place to hide a door inside a landscape, because people will look at him and like, this. Why is this happening in here? So in the end, there was only one of those doors, one light gray door.
And that's on top of all the other restrictions that we have to work with normally. Nick just decides to throw a whole bunch of arbitrary additional things. We recently finished our first set together, and it was quite the quite the undertaking because Nick wants to has a whole bunch of additional weird little quirks that he wants to make sure are correct with all the sets. I'll also have my own, but mine are slightly different.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's usually elements that I try and put into all of my sets. They're not in all of them, but they're kind of just signature parts because I just love this part so much that I try and find new ways of using it. And also when I'm building, I try and think like, what are the parts that kids might enjoy? And I am a little bit biased in that I kind of look out for kids like me as a kid.
Yeah.
So a really weird kid.
So I do tend to sneak a lot of like little animals into my sets and ice cream cones as well. It's a really nice part. It's very versatile building element.
T-bars.
T-bars are cool.
Oh, yeah.
T-bars are fun.
Interesting. I guess on the animal note, that explains a lot of the frogs in Ninjago City.
Yes, there is a whole frog trade going on there. I'm surprised at how many frogs I managed to put into that set.
Oh yeah, no, it's incredible.
More, but my favorite.
The best thing. Sorry.
Is there's
I think
that
I know
frog
which one it
that's
is.
on the side by the elevator. He's just
The
sitting
ground
at
level.
the edge, kind of just waiting for a taxi, but he's facing outwards from the dock platform, which means that he's like, if you take these sets as modular buildings, he is overlapping into the space where another building should be.
He himself is bending he's bending space and time itself with his nose. Like he just only barely butts his head into a non-existent space in the set. Like he is the only thing in the set that leans out.
Yep. You'll have
Wow.
to adjust the set if you want to fit it with the frog. Then
That's
I
by
have
his own reason.
another frog in Destiny's Shadow that's manning a crossbow turret at the front. That doesn't really occur in the TV show, but it was just a detail.
Weirdly enough, I wonder why they left it out. Nick.
I don't know. I thought he was a great character.
He had a very
he's supposed to
compelling
be
story
on
arc.
the ninja boat, but on the top of the box, he is sided with the Vermilion warrior.
It's a clear case of mutiny on board the Destiny's Shadow. With the
an
snakes
amphibian,
all
I don't
along.
know which side the frog should be aligned with. Is he more of a reptile, or should he be siding with the humans? It is a dilemma.
I mean, he is an amphibian, so I guess he's slightly closer to the reptiles than the minifigures. Whatever, are minifigures mammals? I guess they are.
There's a lot of questions that I ask myself when I'm designing sets, and I do my best to figure out the answers for kids, so that they don't have to worry about that. But sometimes some of these questions slip through.
Interesting. You know, that is kind of an answer that what we would need, given that, you know, yeah, he is a frog, so he is an amphibian, but he would be closer to reptiles. And at that same time, though, you have the snakes, you have the serpentine, but you also have turtles. Ninja turtles. So
Oh no.
he's kind of torn
plot
between those
thickens.
two worlds.
Oh no,
That's fair enough. Speaking of the Ninjago City, I've got a picture on screen right now. Not that I need it. I've got it right next to me anyway. Spectacular. I can't stop saying that or recommending it enough. It's just immaculate. But enough gushing. What goes into the process to building not only a set to begin with, but a set on such a substantial scale? Because at the time of release, Ninjago City was like third or fourth largest stock Lego set released.
A
It was
lot of
third
long
for a
nights.
bit until it got buffeted by the re-release of the Taj Mahal,
Yep.
and then the re-release of the Falcon.
And the re-release of the Death Star.
There was now I'm gonna have to pull out the Ninjago movie art book, the making of the movie, because in there somewhere there are a couple of photos of older concept models of the city.
Mhm.
But it was sort of I did the first sketch model for it at the end of 2014, because the Ninjago movie was actually pushed back by a year, and sort of swapped places with the Batman movie. But that was quite cool because it gave me a lot of extra time to work on this model. So I was working on it myself for about, I guess like 2 years or something, sort of on and off on the side, because we also still had, while the movie was pushed back, we then had to do another year of TV show sets instead. So we didn't really get too much extra time to work on it, but it did give me more time in the evenings to continue to tinker away at it. As I when I started at Lego, I would usually spend my evenings making my own things as well to share with the community. But I kind of transitioned into working on pet projects, and this was one of them, where I spent a lot of extra time entirely rebuilding this model from scratch, quite a few times over.
Oh.
Like as the movie developed, we'd sort of get concept art of what the movie version of the city was looking like, and we'd also send sort of models and suggestions back to the movie studio as well, in this really fun collaboration, sort of to like influence each other. So I was able to build Ninjago City alongside the movie version of it evolving, and I was sort of picking and choosing interesting details from the movie to inspire and integrate into the model. And then I also had just drawers full of table scraps, of like interesting roof builds or weird like techniques using some unusual parts, or just interesting shapes that could make nice signage.
Vehicles.
I also asked for a lot of help from other designers as well, of like, if you have any ideas for doing a railing or for how to do this particular thing, then I would be able to like take bits and then have a whole assortment of things to pick from when sort of assembling into a big model. So Nick actually helped me a lot with that, with very like specific. I'd have very specific briefs that were. I had a lot of freedom with this model, so a lot of these briefs were quite unusual. One of them was like, can we find a way to cook a crab as like a self-contained function, because I'd really like to have a crab shop. So Nick helped me a lot with like trying to make this function work. That would be this that ended up being the one that you have in the crab shop, which is why there was a crab shop. Like if we didn't have this fun function, then we would have figured out something else to put there instead.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like freedom with like all of these bits can kind of change. There doesn't have to be a comic book shop there, but if there is a comic book shop, then that means that there's a lot of opportunities for fun details and references and builds that we could put here. This kind of fits quite nicely there.
Yeah, and the Ninjago City is just chock full of references. I'm sure that I don't even realize all that are there. Obviously enough, I gravitated heavily toward this because of the Bionicle references that you guys snuck in there. And there's obviously stuff to other themes such as Ninjago.
There's
show.
Quite a lot, and I know I've seen a lot of things that people have found online, but they still haven't found everything.
Really? Oh boy.
But it kind of there's sort of a little bit of a reference for everyone.
Yeah, no, it seems chock full, and it seems like whatever wasn't in there somewhat got carried over into the companion set, the Ninjago City Docks.
Yep.
Yes, so that was I didn't work on it directly. So near the end of the project of working on Ninjago movie, it was myself and Christopher Stamp working on the set together. Chris sort of came on to help finish the set and really like nail it down into this is what it's going to be, and then having it come out as a real product. But then so he moved on. I was taken off Ninjago movie once I was finished with the set to work on Lego movie. But Chris continued and worked on the second, so the companion set, the Ninjago City Docks. But it meant that myself and Nick still sort of consulted primarily on the sticker sheet for what kind of references could be fun to throw in. Into the set.
I cannot say that I'm disappointed in the sticker sheet.
No, we were very much looking forward to people seeing it, and then also there was a lot of like other table scraps that we had that we wanted to put into the city, but we weren't able to find a spot for it. But then Chris was able to work it into the docks. So, for example, the shovel roof was something that I had wanted to put in at first, and then the snow shovel roof as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool to see those bits finding their way through into the next thing, and I mean that's something that we do a lot at Lego, where a lot of the time we'll make a lot of models and then circumstances will change, and we don't necessarily use the model, but we'll keep that model sort of on the shelf and then look for opportunities in the future to use it. So a lot of the building never really goes to waste. Things always kind of can be repurposed and recycled.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know, in case of emergency, break ideas out. So, perfectly understandable. All right, that's fascinating. Obviously enough, it's fantastic. If anyone has the money for it, I can never, ever, ever recommend anything else, unless you talk to me like 3 years ago. In that case, it'd be the Paraka Stronghold from 2006. But I digress. So, in that same kind of vein, a little bit of a different theme, and Nick, this is yours. I'll go ahead and get this brilliant picture of you up. Let me see. There we go. It's you on the steps, wearing a particular set of glasses, pointing toward the sky with your first set. And this is Lego Boost. This is something I know TTV has worked promotionally closely with Lego at New York Live, or Lego Live in New York. But I've never actually had anything to do with it. I've never even messed with the set. So go ahead and walk through the process. How did this kind of come to be? How did you end up working on it? What was that process like? And what was learned, in a sense, from Mindstorms from it? Because they're very similar in the regard, their kind of focus.
So a lot of the people that worked on the initial concept for Boost were involved in development of E3 and NXT even. And the creative lead that I was hired under only just joined the team after the creative lead that made EV3 kind of left to lead architecture. So there's a lot of the same people involved, and there's a guy called Lasse. He was actually the guy that took me on as an intern, and he worked on EV3, and he was also from the MCP, like the Mindstorms Community Partner program. He's like a very big Mindstorms builder.
Mm-hmm.
He was hired as a software engineer at some point. So a lot of the same people that worked on the concepts for Boost also worked on EV3, and then handed it over to a team with more experience to build. So when I joined the team, it was basically right at the moment where it kind of got greenlit to continue. And then basically what happened was that they hired they took a creative lead from a creator back then, and a builder from Minecraft, and me as an intern, and the legendary Jan Thompson, as we call him, Tommy Gun Thompson. He's if you grew up in the 80s or 90s and like Lego, he basically most definitely made at least 90% of the sets that you love, because he did everything for space. He did everything for trains between, what was it, the 9-volt era. Basically everything for the 9-volt era he worked on. This man's portfolio is incredible. You can actually find it on Brickset. We've collected the works. He's a older gentleman at this point, so he's not very, very well versed in the internet. So we made him a brick list together with him that actually collects all of his greatest hits, and it's amazing. Anyhow, so we have this team of a rookie like me, Carl Merriam, who worked on Minecraft for a year before then. He was a very skilled fan builder before he joined the company. And then Jan Thompson, who at that point has worked for the company for 30 years. And we were basically kind of used as the three different faces to work on these models. And we each take on a couple of models. We kind of started off with, I think, 10 model directions, and then narrowed it down to the 5 that you end up seeing in the actual box.
Mm-hmm.
And we work very closely together with the people from Product Technology, who make the hardware for us. And then there's the company Fun Day Factory, who made the app for Lego Boost. We worked a lot with them together in creating activities. So in that case, in the very beginning, I was very involved in both making the activities and laying out how the kids are going to be using this toy, because I have an industrial design background. They were very interested in having me work on that, as well as the technicalities of how you're going to build this model, because I come from a fan background, so I have a lot of building experience. So they really wanted me to finish some of the models off for that. And then, basically at some point, after I finished my second half of my internship, the downstream part where I finished the model, I got taken off, but the project was still continuing because the app had a later deadline than our physical deadlines, basically. So as far as that went, I can't really talk too much about it because I wasn't there for it. But up until then, we've been working very closely together with both the technology people and 2 different software companies that we worked together with to make sure the product was as intuitive as possible, because we were aiming for such a low age mark in this case, with the 7+ as opposed to the 10 for Mindstorms. It was very important that we have a lot of back and forth to make sure things align. But I'm very happy with it. And, it's been very positively received so far, which makes me happy, because it was one hell of a headache for everybody involved making the product as good as it was. But I must admit, I don't think I've ever laughed as much as I did working on the project, because there was so many crazy people working on it. In particular, Carl. Carl is a real character.
Wow, that's that sounds incredible. I mean, I've heard nothing but brilliant things about it. I've seen a lot of the functionality it can perform, and it just seems out of this world, especially with the functionality with the application. So it seems wonderful.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed in myself, because while working on this project, I came up with all these different ideas of fan builds I could do. But when I was done, I had so little time for fan builds at that point that I kind of never got around to it. But I'm still planning. I still have some early sketches for a siege tank from StarCraft.
Oh my goodness!
That I was going to build using 1 or 2 boost modules, and that is still something that is on my list that I want to build, because I love the siege tank design, but I love all the Terran design. StarCraft still looks amazing, and I think, especially with something that has a transformation feature, it would be great. It'd be really fun to build, and to hopefully inspire other people to build some crazy stuff as well. I know that I think Ven built the crazy T-Rex thing using only parts in the boost volume, the boost set, and that was very fun to see, because that was basically my life for about a year, building stuff with just the boost volume, right? So I know that volume quite well. Carl knows the parts in that set even better, because he was actually involved in making the Stormbringer Dragon and the city forklift Arctic Explorer vehicle, which are both involved a lot of time to make it work, because there's so many. We already do so many tests on Lego products for safety, for long-term testing, that kind of stuff, that putting motorized functions on top of that is absolutely insane. We had an entire floor of our test just dedicated to testing all the different boost models. It was like a creepy graveyard when you came in there, because there was separate parts of Vernie. His head was floor somewhere spinning around to test how many times it could spin around. It was very absurd going in there. It was a ripped open guitar. It was the testing for that project has been absolutely absurd, and that's why some of the parts of it look a little bit weird. He has a little skid behind him, which is built in such a way that it's absolutely perfect to drive on carpet, on tiles, on lino, on whatever dumb material you're going to play with your toys on, that it won't catch. Because my God, that robot went through so many changes that it was ridiculous.
That is incredible. I can't even come close to trying that.
I remember at one point just walking around the office, and you see Nick and all these other guys from the team just standing around the table, and all they do is have Vernie in the middle of the table, and people are just continuously knocking him over just to see what piece falls off, what thing breaks, how much punishment this poor character can take.
And especially because we consider him to be our son, right? Because we kind of created this character, this starry-eyed little robot that we brought to this world, and then we immediately beat the crap out of him, but just smashing him into the table and pushing him off of ledges and having him drive over the most horrific materials you could possibly imagine. It was painful, but it means that Bernies in the kids' houses are now basically bomb-proof.
I don't know if you guys could answer this necessarily, but how many times did you guys watch rather Short Circuit? You know, have any of you seen that movie?
So we get that a lot. I must admit that I have never seen the movie.
Okay.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I know that Carl's seen the movie. Jan definitely has not seen the movie. It was funny because it was actually based on a sketch by Matt Bittaker, who did.
The Bionicle
We had
Art
Matt
Book.
Bittaker, the guy who worked on the Bionicle G2 stuff and
Yeah.
Hero Factory. I'm currently working in Jago, so I actually got to work with him again.
Oh, wow.
He's ridiculously skilled. Anyhow, we had him for about a week or two on Boost,
Mhm.
and he just did a whole bunch of robot like expression explorations, and the one that we really liked had a bit of a squarish face with eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a popular robot trope. I mean, we've heard Wall-E a lot too, and it's just like, yeah, that's a cutesy robot has big eyes and eyebrows to work with.
Yeah.
We basically just built a box around his head, and that works out. Yeah, he does look a little bit like John Favreau.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I like it. I think that it's a good design, so that works perfectly. See, the only thing I can think of right now using Boost to make would just be like a system Manas, because it's got the white and the orange, and it's got the motor and the treads. So just update that design. Just
I
make
think you
that.
should be able to do that with just the parts in the Boost set. Shouldn't be too hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Something to consider. So you guys talk a lot about kind of switching in and out from different themes. So right now, Nick, I know you work on Ninjago. Nick, you work on Ideas, and Corvin, you work on City. However, it seems like you guys kind of trade off. How does that system work, kind of revolving around these different themes, and how do you approach each theme differently?
It's a balance, like in terms of how the rotation works, is like it's a balance of teams that have need for resources and balancing that out with individual preferences. It's like, for example, there are people like one of my colleagues who's been working on City for 5-ish years or more, and he's recently, like last year, might have actually been longer now, but he switched to Star Wars eventually because he just needed a change of scenery. So yeah, but other times it's just a new project gets started, or another project, somebody who leaves, and then they have a need for resources. So on the holistic overall sense, there's a bit of a puzzle going on between where every designer is needed and what they're passionate about and good at.
Interesting. Okay, so
It's not easy. Creative people are often very passionate about those kind of things, so there's a lot of moving around that happens. Yeah,
all right.
I cannot imagine how hard it is.
Yeah, the most fascinating thing I find, and I think this is really fantastic, is that despite working on all these different system themes, you guys really got into community activities and eventually into LEGO into the the company proper, rather, by doing a lot of construction models, and then as Bionicle Generation 2 is being sent off, the final model, as it were, all three of you worked on for the Journey to One Makuta.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes with smaller projects, you've got the main project that you're assigned to, but if there's something very specific that you do want to work on, you can sort of talk with your manager to see if you can get some extra time to work on something sort of 10% on the side. And so, yeah, the Makuta model is a good example of something like that, where it was our passion that meant that we're able to work on that and make that happen.
And the same goes for stuff like Voltron too, where it was basically like, I really, really want to do this, and basically I would basically, before I would be officially allocated to it, just do it in my spare time and just like drop by Sam's desk and it's like, hey, how about this? How about this? How about this? Especially early on, it was just like, how about this? How about this? And at some point, he's like, all right, I'm gonna make sure that you get to be allocated to the project. It's very much kind of a brute force thing where it's just like, yeah, this guy clearly cares a lot about this. The managers are often come from the same level that we're at right now and understand this kind of passion, and that's helpful, definitely.
That makes a lot of sense. And I figure on that note, obviously enough, we don't have any images for it. I believe we did get an official confirmation. There's a Voltron set that's coming out.
Yep.
If you'd like to say whatever you can say, go for it, but I'm sure that is going to be later down the line anyway.
Yep, it's going to be sometime this year. Can't really talk much more about it other than that. It's going to be awesome.
It's coming.
It's going to be great. And there was one. Oh, right. I saw the first draft of the designer video last week, which was made me look. For the record, I'm ridiculously excited about this product. Like, I have worked my absolute behind off for this product continuously for a very long time. Also, while during hours I probably shouldn't be working, and pushing and having conversations with people about it, way beyond the point that I should be doing, just because I really was passionate about making sure this is going to happen. And because it's such a crazy project, there was a lot of points in time where people were like, we probably can't make this happen. It's like, I'll show you. We'll kick reason to the curb and do the impossible, and then
roll, fight the clutch power.
In the video, I am a little bit of I'm very nervous, obviously, in this video. So because it was a very big deal to me. I grew up watching designer video, so. And especially in the beginning of the design video, I am very nervous, and it doesn't seem like I have any emotions in me at all, except for utter dread of the camera. But
It's a weird feedback loop when you're watching the designer video, but you're actually in it right now.
Yeah. But I was super excited about this product. So if that says anything about what the end result's going to look like, it's I think Kevin was talking about it. He saw me while I was in the thick of it, basically in the thick of discussions with people about whether we can or can't do it. And it was crazy. It was took up a good chunk of my life over the last year or so.
I can imagine, because I recall, if it isn't the only one that we, the public, are aware of, then it's one of very, very few idea sets that it was part of the qualifying stage. I forget the terminology at the moment, but like
the evaluation.
Like they had publicly announced, all right, so we have this set, we've selected this one from this round, this is going to be a set, all these others aren't, but this one we're still talking about.
Yep. And that was for a variety of reasons, one of which was me trying to figure out how we were going to make this work. And just feeling like everybody's like, no, we can't do this. It's like, no, give me one more shot. I can do it. I just, Nick, you haven't slept in 6 days. Go to bed. No, I can do it.
You sometimes wake up at night with solutions in mind to a problem that's been bugging you for weeks.
Fired up LDD immediately.
Exactly, on the very laptop that I'm streaming. It soon some points. Thankfully, I had plenty of friends around that managed to pull me out of this sanity at points. Honestly, it's the reason I moved to Denmark. It's the reason I wanted this job, so I could completely lose myself in projects like this, where I can fire on all cylinders and show people that we can do the impossible, do crazy stuff like that.
That is amazing. I'm not a follower of the franchise specifically. I've never seen any incarnation of the show. Very unfamiliar with the source material. That being said, I've seen a lot of your MOCs. I know your interests. I have nothing but complete faith that this is going to be a spectacular model. I'm super interested in seeing what it looks like.
I hope it won't let you down.
Oh, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. It's going to be great. That's all fascinating. This is all very new information to me. Now, this kind of process. And Corvin, I know that you said you worked on City. What is that process kind of like? Have you worked on other themes as well? And the most important question, why in the heck do you not have a brick list on Brickset showing off all your sets?
That is because that is my fault. I seriously need to get on that. That is right. You are correct.
Just to interject,
soon.
Mine got deleted. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I made it, and I was like about to update it with like some of the small things that I worked on, and it's like sets designed by me, and then it's like it doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know what happened. Hugh, if you listen to this,
Hugh,
I don't
if
know
you're
he
watching
is.
right now, we can have words.
I would like to have my brick list back, please. I will make one when Voltron comes out, basically to update it. I'll put it back in there. But I did actually write quite a bit on Boost, which is a bit of a shame that I'll rewrite. Corvin, why don't you have one?
Actually, now that you mentioned it, I don't have one on Brickset, but I have, because I felt guilty a little bit, I did update my blog on BZ Power and started making
that's
it.
right.
Just
Oh.
yes. So yeah, if you find my I still go for since like 12 years now under the name of Vezok's Friend on BZ Power, and if you find my blog there, you can also find a little list of the sets that I've been working on. The process on City is a little different.
It's a little bit different from like Ninjago because City knows what it's doing.
You have a great analogy for the difference in processes. Where at a certain point in time, everybody goes through the same gate, where everybody kind of has to deliver the same. But then you go over to the Ninjago area, and the Ninjago area are always very, because it's so reliant on concept development, right? They're very conceptual and very crazy in a lot of the ways. Where I would compare it to like a bunch of cavemen just like hitting rocks together, and it's like, oh my god, we made fire, and then and then you walk over like two aisles over, and the city is there, and they've achieved space flight. They've landed on the moon. They've like contacted other like sentient life forms in the universe. While Ninjago is still just like hitting rocks together. And then Ninjago goes through a really rapid development phase where they hit rocks together so hard that they get like nuclear fusion or something, and they blast off into space.
I've never heard it described quite like that, but I guess you could. Yeah.
City knows what they're doing.
Wow.
Well, mostly the fact is like the age numbers on the box are not just for show, and they're sort of like internally the standard that we are designing these sets for. So usually the average age for the City audience is 5 to 6 years old, and just the way humans grow up, 5 and 6 year olds don't have fully developed like motor skills and like the spatial awareness, and it's like there's a lot of things happening as kids. Yeah, there's like if you've ever seen a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old build, for example. I've had this example actually not too long ago when I was home the last time for a family event, and there were 2 kids there, 4 and 7, and I happened to have one unopened box of a set of mine there, and we were building the City helicopter chase that's set with Chase McCain that was released together with Lego City Undercover 2, and actually one of the few sets with a named character in City. Just but like the 7-year-old was saying, oh yeah, I can do it myself, and just his little brother was there and it's like, no, you. It's like I'll build it myself, and then I built the other car with the little brother, and while we were still like halfway finished through the build, he went like, yeah, but you need to put the wheels on. I was like, yeah, but the car is like only half finished. Like all we put on is the wheel arches. So like, yeah, but you put the wheels on. I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. It's just okay. We put the wheels on. What's now? And it's like, well, it's just like, do we finish the car? Yeah. All you need to do is put the windshield on. I was like, well, the car didn't have a nose yet, and it's like 50% of the pieces were still on the floor. And all he did was like he took the windshield piece and popped it on like offset, off center, and somewhere in the front, and it looked completely ridiculous. But in his eyes, that car was done now. It had wheels, it had a windshield, it's done. So the idea in City is that, of course, what we try to do is we want to make these models that are engaging for the kids, while at the same time keeping in mind that it needs to be buildable by them. Because the worst thing you can do is sort of make something that is complicated to build in a way that it frustrates them and that they don't want to actually finish it. So the idea behind in City is that we try to make it interesting but keep it simple, which is often like a bit of a struggle. Which I've fully experienced not too long ago when when I built my largest set to date that I went solo on as a designer, which was the Mountain Police headquarters. Which for somebody who is mostly used to designing vehicles to suddenly design a full-on like building that is sort of built organically into a mountain structure and needs to be able to be played with by 6-year-olds. That was quite the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So the age range when it comes to specific products has a direct impact on how the design and, in a sense, functionality is approached. That's fascinating. That's something I never had considered before. Although it makes a lot of sense given something like Ninjago City compared to one of the city sets that you're talking about now. And so, in that same vein, when it comes to set design, I'm sure this is something I believe, Nick, you'd probably be a little more qualified to discuss, although I don't know, because, set lists. When it comes to licensed themes, does the set design and approach to a licensed set differ any outside of trying to emulate the source material as closely as possible as opposed to a non-licensed set, say City or Ninjago? Or is it just trying to emulate a concept as closely as possible no matter what it is?
I guess the biggest difference is mostly just like relationship with partner kind of stuff. So instead of just like having your creative lead sign off on it, because I built a car and it looks like a car, checks out, right? That kind of thing that we can do internally. We will have multiple instances of back and forth with the IP partner to make sure that it matches their quality standard and their opinion of what colors, shapes, the whole thing. So basically, we have a way of communicating images with them that they can then comment on, so things you can change, that kind of stuff. So it's very much a back and forth where they look in a couple of times during the development phase to make sure that we are on the right track and that it is something that's accurate to what they would want.
Yeah. The most recent high-profile example of that would probably be the Technic Bugatti. And I only bring that one up because if you're interested, Lego Technic have actually released. If you're interested in this process, Lego Technic have actually they also have a podcast that you can listen to while building the set, and also just for fun if you don't have the set, where they also talk with the Technic designers, and you can really get an insight onto the back and forth between our side and the Bugatti's designers and how they interacted with that.
Huh.
It is quite amazing what I've heard.
Yeah, it's really fun. I think when you're making a licensed set, you are following reference, but you are also making a toy. So there is still a lot of the same thinking where you're looking for opportunities for exciting play experiences, and sometimes there's details of the reference that you wouldn't replicate directly because it's a bit counterintuitive for the play. But then when it comes to a homegrown play theme, then there is a lot more. There's also the step where you're trying to discover what it is that you're making, which is part of what I loved about on Ninjago so much, where we would sometimes go in saying like, we're going to make a dragon, but we don't actually know what that dragon looks like yet, and we need to find that with both concept sketches and with the needs of the story that we're making at the same time, and with bricks. So like with the Master Wu dragon, for example, that came from trying to make a fire dragon for Kai. Simon, my manager, asked me to make a couple of different explorations for what Kai's dragon might look like, and one of the ones that I made had particularly had these Unikitty tails as a mustache, and it looked a little bit older and wizened with this fire red color scheme, and he said that kind of looks a bit more like a dragon for Wu, which isn't what I asked you to do. But then he said, actually,
sometimes we make things that our managers don't have to do.
And can you try that out instead? See what it would look like if you made it in his color scheme, and pushed it more in that direction. So I did that, and he really liked where it was going, which meant that we then kind of changed the story around a little to make a space for Master Wu to have a dragon. So it was really kind of fun to have that opportunity to push different things in order to get the set as it was. Yeah, so sometimes you have a bit more. It's both good and bad, because then you can you have more opportunities to express different things in a homegrown theme, but then also it's more difficult to come up with what it is that's unique, because if it looks too much like something, then maybe we don't want to be doing it as well.
Yeah.
Versus if we're making that thing, then that's no problem. It's easy to
The
follow
Destiny
that.
Shadow is also, not to repeat too much, but the Destiny Shadow is a very extreme example of that, right? Where it started off as something else entirely, and then you're like, that's neat, but how about this? And then you show them a tiny Destiny's Bounty, basically, with like sweet
Yeah.
wings and stuff, and they're like, yeah, yes, like that.
Yes, yeah. So for Destiny's Shadow, I was initially making a hoverboat for Lloyd, and Matt Bedecker had actually done some really awesome concept sketches, off this boat, and then I was building sort of based on that, and also at the same time, so I was sort of following his reference for inspiration, but also deviating where I could try and make where an interesting function would work. But then also on the side, I really wanted to make a mini skiff that was kind of based on some models I had made for Sky Pirates that didn't end up getting used. And so I also on the side pitched, like, what if we do a smaller Destiny's boat type thing, and that was also well received. So that kind of transitioned into Lloyd's boat, but also sort of more of a generic team vehicle. On the side, also while working on Lego Boost, Carl and Nick had come up with this amazing vehicle that is some kind of rescue vehicle, but for some reason it had canoes as wheel hubs that could be detached. And I thought that was
it was on the hubs wells, but yeah.
Yeah. So for some reason they went away from it. But I
It
really
was
love
the perfect model.
I love the idea of using canoes, detachable canoes. So I worked really hard to also get that into the concept of Destiny's Shadow, and tie that all together.
Which would also justify color changing into some wacky color.
Into an exciting new color, yes.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
So late in the process of Destiny's Shadow, I was also defending that it needed to have like the color scheme of the second bounty, not the first bounty, because if it was, that would have meant it would have had red canoes, which is the color we've had it in before, which is much less exciting.
Of course.
Really wanted to get it into a fun new color, which
And
turned
that's
out
how
to
you
be
get
olive.
olive.
Yes.
Huh.
So sometimes you get opportunities to do sneaky things like that.
Interesting. Well, like I don't know, bring back teal? No.
Well, sometimes, not necessarily, but sometimes there's things where it's like, depending on what you hear, there's things that's like, oh, why are there no dark green jumper plates? And you go like, why are there no dark green jumper plates? And
Well,
there's
Corvin,
like
you see, because we're very restricted to a set limit of frames that we can spend. Let's make this very clear. No, just kidding. I mean, you can get the standard Lego Designer talk, but yes, because
Yeah,
we
but
have
some-
many restrictions and many budgets and things we adhere to. Yes, also
Yes.
we listen.
We
Dark green
we
jumper
can't make color changes all the time, but sometimes you need to do it. So if there's a micro train, for example, it just
in an
needs to
advent
be
calendar.
that a
Yes.
designer such as Corvin might happen to be designing, then it really makes sense to finally get that dark green jumper plate. And then coincidentally at the same time it also shows up in Ninjago City, just to guarantee that you'll also be able to get that in other sets too for a long time to come.
I think you'll find that designers that hang out a lot often use each other's color changes just because they agree that this place should be used a lot.
Yes. We
Nick
often
has used quite a few of mine. I've used quite a few of Nick.
we often berate each other as well for color changes that we don't think are necessary. One of the color changes that I usually pester Nick for is that he color changed the 4x6 Technic brick. It's that Technic frame brick with snaps on all sides. He color changed that to Azure for some reason, for Lego Boost, and it's just a very unusual part to put.
It's a
into,
beautiful
like,
piece
color.
that inspires
It's
a lot
not-
of building.
It's not that workable into other models. It's so.
But then you did use
I
it.
don't really like it that much. But then in Ninjago City, when we were building it, there's a particular build-up in the middle layer where you have 4 of those Technic frames put together in a sort of a cycling pattern to build a foundation of the crab kitchen. And we found that it was a bit confusing as you're putting it together, that it was easy to sort of accidentally turn the model and then lose like which side am I building on. So we wanted to mark it, like often we'll add a brick to one side so that you can easily kind of keep reference on where you're building.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that we had 2 other colors that we could use that were available at the time. One of them was black and one of them was this blue color. And I thought that was great. That was very kind of somebody to color change that into that color, and I'll use it for that. And it turned out pretty good. I don't know who made that.
And for the
color change,
record,
though.
that
I
is
should
one of the
thank them.
best collections for the Boost Cube. I'm sticking to my guns. Also, like from a personal point of view, because I like it. It looks really neat on the models, and it really ties the models together in a good way. Where if they were just gray or black, and very boring. But also, kids love to build with them. I've seen a lot of kids build with a boost volume, and it's just especially for building like simple function stuff, they love that piece. So there's some reasoning to it, but it was also just it looks amazing. The piece looks great in that color. And it's like instant novelty basically. Where it's like, oh hey, look, this is new, it's cool.
Wow.
So whenever you find a piece in a really strange color on inside a model, sometimes that could be a reason why.
Okay.
Yeah. Often we use filler color that's like when we try and figure out, because the inside of the model colors, of course everybody's heard this story 1,000 times, right? We put the crazy colors in there because it's meant to help you with building, so you know what you're looking at, and make sure that pieces that are similarly shaped are in the same color, so you can find them really easily when you're building it out of bag. What Nick and I often do is when we look for filler is walk over to the part of the stock where the new elements come in, the new colors and new pieces, and just pick only filler pieces in newer colors, so that once you put them in,
filler pieces you can get.
Yep, exactly. So you can get like the outside of the model may be just yellow and black, but the inside is every different amazing color, teal and sand green, all that good stuff.
Wow. All right. Well, in that case, I know next time I see some shiny new piece in, I call it matte green, but I'm sure you guys have a different color for it that I can't memorize for my life.
Ironically, that is called dark green in our system, and dark green is called Earth green.
What the heck? That just seems so
bizarre. You know when Onua was dark green? That was great.
Ah, man, you see, I would at least call it leaf green. Because, like, when I look at, say, Liwa Mata from 01, I think, yeah, he looks like the color leaves. But dark green, that doesn't...
There's also a lot of elements in our system that have Danish, which makes them really hard to find. Which is great. Yeah, there's some... our color names... I would like to overhaul our color name system, but there's also a certain cuteness to it that it's...
The problem is
there's a lot of legacy and history to the colors, which is cool, because it kind of goes.
We have a color that's called New Dark Red, which is New Dark Red is a great name for a color. It's like it's Nintendo did it, right? The new 3DS, we can do that too. New Dark Red, except we did it like 10 years before Nintendo.
Come on, guys.
The problem is if somebody like needs to revamp the whole color naming system, then all our other colleagues would be very confused, because what is Keat Orange?
What do you mean? What is Keat Orange? It's the orange on Kitangu.
I've moved past Keat Orange. It's called China Yellow now.
How dare
so
you?
many different colors for every different. It's confusing. Even when it came to work at Lego, it was quite fun to sort of like learn some of the different dialects, like what is the lingo for what are these bricks called, because there's the official Lego name, which is often very specific and sometimes a bit unintuitive. Then there's the Bricklink name. Then there's the like the general like AFOL community names. There's the Bionicle names, and then there's the names that we come up with ourselves when a new part has come in. It doesn't really have a name yet. It's it's fun to kind of keep track of all those different element names. The so there's the 1x2. There's the 1x1 plate with a bar on it. That was, I think it first showed up in some Ninjago sets for Sky Pirates, where you can kind of rotate it. With like there's a rounded corner, so you can rotate it. It was made by a person called Jesper. So we call it the Jesper brick. And then he then made another wonderful element, which
you can describe it pretty much exactly the same way. One more round with the bar sticking out.
which is used on the Ninjago City for the like holding up the life buoys on the bridge. So it's a stick coming out, but it's still a bar coming out from a stud. So that's also called the Esper brick.
Oh no!
And
But in City, it is known as the espresso machine.
Yeah, so even within different departments, we have different names of things.
Oh no!
Because it looks like the thing where you put the coffee grounds and then that you then clip and rotate into a coffee machine.
Yeah, I can see.
I like calling it the frying pan just to add confusion to
Oh my gosh!
the tiny frying pan.
But the Jesper bricks are not to be confused with the Jonas plate.
Jonas plays this.
Oh no!
So these
Jonas
are just
plate
all
is
the
very nice.
dumb names that we have for everything.
See,
But the Jonas plate is.
But there's
more,
there's a big difference between like colloquial and like official names. Where if you'd say Jonas plate in an official meeting with like BI, they're like, "Oh, what now?" Until you use it enough in a conversation that they start using spreads. As a lingo is actually very. I think we could do an entire podcast just about the weird lingo that we use at the Lego building. Just because we have so many internationals that just keep deforming words that we have so many strange words. Ridiculous.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be a good time, because lingo is a lot of fun, and obviously, you know, like you already mentioned, all the different names for the colors in the Bionicle community. Matte Green, Metu Red, Keat Orange, aforementioned. Heck, even for Leewood Generation 2. I call it Green Lantern Green, which is a mouthful. Yeah.
No, that's bright green.
That's bright green, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Green Lantern. GLG, okay.
Yeah, and then I get yelled at whenever I call the, See, I don't even know the official name. I just call it Transparent Lime Green.
It's a transparent neon green.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
said. No.
Kevin is into the lingo.
Kevin is into the lingo. Kevin has hung out a
yes.
lot with us while he was there. And First
Okay.
is one of the many weird words we've come up with here.
No, I can't accept this. See, he says, flame yellowish orange, which is Keat Orange. And you said it just a moment ago, Neek. Chima yellow? Unbelievable. I can't live for that. I can't stand for Chima yellow?
It's
I don't
always
know
a question
who
of
played the
who
French.
wore it best, and was it Kitangu or was it the entire Legion of Lions?
It
And
was
depending on what kind of
Kitangu.
person you like, sometimes an entire Legion of Lions takes hold of the name and deserves credit.
No.
It's funny because it was actually one of my favorite colors. It's actually still one of my favorite colors, and one of the reasons why was because I love the Kitangu model, and I'm basically all my MOCs from that point on just mostly Kitangu pieces. And it's just Kitangu's weird brother.
Yeah, the 191. That's the color code.
Oh
we
yeah,
have for it.
then
There-
there's
there's also
numbers
numbers.
as well.
No.
Yeah, sometimes we don't use the words. It's too confusing. We just refer to the colors as numbers instead.
Oh.
It's like when
when you're-
both parties can't figure out how to speak each other's language, we just start talking in code. It's
Like 191.
191.
Yes, 191.
It's like
okay.
Chima yellow, Kitangu orange,
You want
flame
this
yellow
gray
is
in
orange.
194 or 199, and it's
Mother
194,
of
please.
pearl.
Because what we call light gray is actually called medium stone gray, which is light gray. Light stone gray is Thok gray, Thok white.
what?
Call it. Or NXT white. Call it NXT white too.
Okay, no. This needs a massive overhaul. Just like, we'll call them simple names. Leewa green is green. Dark green is dark green. But that'd be, Like,
But Liwa was
Magta's-
That
lime
would be
at some
Metro
point as
Green.
well.
That's it was Liwa was lime, right?
Liwa was lime in
Liwa was 199,
2009.
okay.
Look,
We'll adopt that though. We can work with that. 199 we'll call us Liwa Green.
Liwa Gray.
Liwa Gray, yes.
This
Liwa Gray.
conversation is killing me. So we'll move on to another question. And then eventually I want to get into we do have some fan submissions, some email questions, which I always appreciate. I love
cool.
getting email questions. They're easy to keep track of.
It's exciting.
But kind of on this same branch, pertaining to the kind of behind the scenes, you mentioned earlier that you guys listen, you guys pay attention to what people say, what you read. So what, in your experience, is the greatest misconception that people, or misconceptions that people have about set design, about what goes into the process?
The one I've already debunked today about like colored bricks inside isn't because we have like bricks left over or cheaper. It's just because building order, and sometimes we try and put in colors there because we can't actually do math. Weirdly enough, you wouldn't expect a company this size to be like it's like, oh, we just found a whole warehouse full of 2x4 bricks in red. Everybody now just use 2x4 bricks in red.
Okay,
Yeah, please use the bricks.
You brought up a great point. I got this like a ton when I was doing the recap reviews. I would constantly bring up a commonly held community opinion that red axles and blue pins were generally considered to be
So we
negative.
cannot color change those. That's impossible. I think I will need to fight at least 2 people and a bear before I'm allowed to color change cross axle.
We did not make several billion too many red axles in 2004.
Yeah,
That was a deliberate choice.
For the next 20 years, it's going to be red axles from now on out.
No,
Okay.
actually,
we're soon about to run out, and we'll revert back to black.
See, that was one of the critiques I would get. Like, people would say, listen, Lego
really
doesn't
hope
have any
first
control.
orders-
Lego, they don't have control over the color of axle and pin. Although someone along the way had to have made that decision. So presumably...
No, that
Yeah.
was a very deliberate decision, which once again, just as the random colors inside the models, is used to make it easier to find the elements when you have your pile of bricks in front of you on your desk or on the floor.
Yeah.
So even axles, even module axles come in black and red, and uneven ones come in light gray and yellow. So
Nothing you can do to
yeah,
change
and then
that.
if you have let's say if you have a 3 long cross axle and a 5 long cross axle in the same bag in your model, you would be requested to have one of those, one of them in yellow, to further differentiate them. So because sometimes for the younger builders, when they see a 3 long cross axle and 5 long cross axle, they might just grab the wrong one. And to make sure that doesn't happen, to make it as foolproof as possible, that's why we have these differentiations in the snaps and cross axles.
And even beyond confusion entirely, it's also just about making the building flow as enjoyable as possible. Because sometimes when you've got a big pile of pieces, you're looking for this particular part. You're looking for a cross axle in black, and sometimes it's easy just to see it, and then you pick it up and you take it, and you're like, oh, this is the wrong one. Okay, I have to go back and find the other one. So that's just like little stumbles in the building experience, where if we can do a little bit to help out people when they're building, that just makes the whole process more enjoyable. Naturally, we do also, like as designers, we see the red pins and the blue cross axles, and we'll also try and hide them where possible so that they're not always sticking out. But the priority first is being able to make it as enjoyable building experience as possible.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, that is the most logical conclusion one would come to. So I just wanted that to be like on record. So if anyone ever said, Lego doesn't have any control, it's just, grab a handful of pieces and just shove it into the set. It's like, no, there's a thought process.
I think that would be the, to come back to your original question of what is the most common misconception. I think that's the one that I notice the most, is when there's people who, when writing reviews or critiquing what we do, they say like, oh, this was done carelessly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas even if something isn't quite up to what we might have wanted, there's always thought behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So
A lot of loops and rebuildings and
yes.
long like deliberations of like umming and ahhing the most very strange choices. Like we'll often like as designers when you're looking at a bag of bricks, we'll like look through the whole model to try and see like are we using the elements that make the most sense. So if you've got light gray 1x2 plates in one section, we don't want to have too many dark gray 1x2 plates in other sections, trying to like make sure that the numbers or the parts all balance out. Often people will spend a lot of time thinking about that in order to make it as intuitive as possible for as many people. Because sometimes you like when you're building a model and then you take it apart, it's very nice to have nice whole numbers of different parts, so that you can build your own things easily. You don't have just like 6 of this part, 2 of this part, 3 of that bit. So often extra thought will go in to see how can we adjust the model to make that happen as well. Ninjago City is an exception where it's just I think you get just about every single part in every wrong number, in every single color.
Except the doors. Except the doors.
Yeah, the door. Well, so the doors on top of the model, compared to the other door, that one door, the doors on the top of the model, there's like about 16 or something doors in each black color used to make a roof. And I went through a lot of extra effort to ensure that it was possible to have both left and right doors, because you could have built both of those door roofs at the same time, and then in the same bag, and just as the times 2. But it would have meant that you would have had like 32 right doors and no left doors. So I had built that entire level so that you would have a logical stopping point after you've built one set of doors, and then in the next bag you would build the other doors, which would all be the opposite kind, because you really wouldn't want to be sorting through like left and right doors in the same bag. That would be quite a hassle.
Especially not 32 of them.
So that was something that I was really hoping, and I didn't see it. I was really hoping that when this set came out, somebody would notice that it's impossible to tell whether it's left or right doors from the outside of the model, and be worried that it could all be right doors. So it's incredible. Like a question left in stasis until you get to that.
And this is a thing that happens more often than you think. Like we just finished a set together, and it basically does exactly the same thing, where it's just like, well, we can either have the same piece 1,000 times, or we can have different ones that look a bit the same. If we make the model if you built the model in such a way that the bag split allows us to keep the pieces in separate bags, which doesn't immediately make any sense, but it makes the building flow of the models better.
Yeah. Wow. All right. That seems to be a good misconception to clear up. Are there any others that you guys notice that kind of stick out at you at all?
We don't have infinite color changes. I guess we've already mentioned that.
Yep, no, that works. Okay, excellent. In that case, let's go ahead and move on to some submitted questions that we have. And I think these are pretty good ones. Our first one comes from Wolksite. And he asks, what can you tell us about the ice shadow trap not appearing in set form?
I don't think any of us worked directly on it, so don't know the exact story, but I believe it was going to be in a set, in like a separate standalone set, a bit like some of the magazines, but it ended up not happening. But the design had been made, so it does show up in Journey to One, I think.
Yeah, it's actually one of the first traps to show up in Journey to One.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it didn't make it into a final product.
Which happens often enough, where we just have to end up scrapping the models because of market, that kind of stuff.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I had heard that there was some plan to make it a polybag, and thankfully it's still buildable. Like, it's completely buildable, and you can get the pieces. I have one. It's fun. So, okay.
Yep, and that's something that we, at least we try to do where possible, is to, if we know that something's not coming out, then to try and build it in a way that is just using existing pieces, so that if it shows up in some form, fans will be able to see how it's made and reverse engineer it, and then still get it, rather than people sort of being left wondering what exactly is an ice shadow trap at all.
Did we end up figuring out what color the legs were?
We did, yeah. I think
white,
John,
right?
John helped out with that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That works. The next email, this is 5 questions, is from Lysander Magnus. And he asks, firstly, why, oh why, Galidor?
Oh boy. This is, again, worthy of an entire podcast by itself.
Yeah, I feel like that's a massive topic.
But more importantly, why not Galidor?
I think Billund is kind of a quiet town, and it sometimes drives people a little bit insane. That's what happened to Nick and me at some point during one of the many dark nights of winter in Billund. It was a winter night. I think it's hard to tell.
It's always a winter night.
And we were just, I think I convinced Nick to buy some Galidor at some point, because I had some of it during my childhood, because it showed up in stores for like €1 a box. And I was like, well, I guess I'll get some of this.
I think that's a good answer. Nick had it as a kid, and he convinced me that it was a good idea.
It's your doing.
And then we had a small box of it, and there we were working on some pet project that we were thinking about. And then in the meantime, we had just a bunch of Galidor laying around on the couch we were sitting on, and we just built a whole bunch of weird creatures. And we kind of found it interesting as a concepting tool.
It's really good. Galidor's really good at making silhouettes.
It's amazing at making silhouettes.
You can put together figures so quickly, and because of the parts, you kind of end up with very unexpected shapes that you weren't thinking of when you first made it. You're like, oh, this is...
And it's different from drawing because it's in a three-dimensional space without having to fiddle around with a lot of tiny bits. Like, without having to worry about the details, you can just create a shape with limbs and that kind of stuff. So that's why we found it interesting. And then we also are quite interested in, because we were both very, almost entranced by stuff like Monog, and seeing how could we create a new era kind of world building experience, fit for today's social media. And because we like to experiment with dumb stuff like that, we kind of saw this as a great opportunity because it was so quick to build these. It's very doable to make one for every day of the week and just write a small story for it and upload it and see how people respond, see if people like it. And we've been doing a lot of world building in some cases, and more short story directions in other cases, and more just crazy dumb jokes in other or references to pop culture.
I think one of the other primary reasons for me is that I saw that Mark Stafford, another Lego designer, he has a Twitter account and he has quite a lot of followers, and I thought, I'm a Lego designer, I could get some followers as well. So I'm gonna post Galidor every day.
Yeah, Mark doesn't even post it often. Mark posts once every month or so. So we're like,
yeah. So if we do every day,
then sure, we're gonna go overtaking a note.
I can get as many followers as Mark Stafford. So just this little plug. You can follow me on Twitter at Prince Galidor.
And please unfollow Mark Stafford. And then,
actually, that would be great. That would help even the odds.
Gosh dang it! Well,
I think we're only 3,000 behind on him so far. So
we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, let me see. So Mark, because I do follow him too. I'm sorry, guys. He has 3,858.
Oh yes, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if
mine says 59, so I guess somebody just unfollowed him. Thank you very much for that. We're
much appreciated. Keep it up.
Gosh, I hope he doesn't listen to this.
You do realize we still have that gaming thing next week, right?
He's the DM in our D&D game.
We do role playing, and he's in charge of us.
Oh man. Well,
I don't think he needs more reason to kill all of our characters. I think we've already got a reason enough.
Yeah. Hashtag unfollow Mark Stafford, and then don't tell Mark Stafford, please.
Does that all fit into the same hashtag? I guess it does.
Wow. Well, I hope it works out. I hope everyone can get a bunch of followers and be happy, and every one of the followers can be entertained. And it'd be wonderful and joyful. And next question by Leo. Any chance of seeing more Slicer revamps?
I mean, maybe
Oh.
next year.
Slicer
So this
revamp.
is the year of Galidor. Maybe next year. Oh, yeah, there was a Slicer revamp happening. Call
I
that,
did a
right?
Slicer revamp. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'll
What?
see.
Okay, fair enough. Question tres. What is your favorite set that you have worked on?
I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, I feel like that's fairly straightforward.
It's the polybag, right, Nick? The Nindroid polybag.
That Nindroid polybag was pretty cool. It came out in a magazine. I don't have it on my book list. I was having a look. I think there's also some sets coming out that I've worked on. That I worked on a set with Nick, where it was pretty much just us two making a thing, and it just sort of, it was very quick and happened well. I'm quite excited for that set, but that'll be out. I think you'll know it when it's out. So
I hope so.
sometime. Yeah.
I hope that I'll be, at this point, I'll be able to recognize it. Like I can see it and just go, oh, it was them.
Yeah, I won't say. You'll have to guess.
Fair enough. Okay, you know what? I will do that. Looking forward to that now.
I'm just gonna immediately promote the F out of it once it shows up.
Nice.
I'll stay all over the place. It's gonna be great. I'm super excited about this set.
Promote the fun out of it. All right. Corvin, do you have a favorite?
Well, yes, I guess. So far, from the ones so far released, it's, I guess the most fun one that I'm the most fond of is probably the Jungle Airdrop Helicopter, which is not a set I was in charge of myself, but I was asked to help out with it because my colleague Heiko was very busy developing the sort of sky crane function, where you grab the helicopter around the tail, and there's a little sliding mechanism with a thumb trigger where it wraps these two grabbers around either a truck or a cargo pallet. And while he was busy developing that, I was busy developing all the other fun stuff of the model. So like the ruins in the jungle and the little tower, the little airplane tower with the little crane and everything, and including this jungle statue, which we basically just dubbed the hamster because it wasn't really anything, but it was also something. You know, because you don't want to actually go and directly, use some culture, some ancient culture as a direct inspiration there. So we had to go with something of our own, and it wound up with this really weird little chewy statue thing.
Yeah, I'm looking
So
at it now.
Yeah, so that is what we have dubbed the hamster.
Wow. That makes it, if you count the Venus flytrap, it makes it 4 animals then. Oh, wait, I forgot
Almost, yeah, basically. Yeah, and then of the most recent sets, I think there's 2 speed champion sets that I've worked on, and I'm quite proud of those. Just for the fact that speed champion sets are 6 studs wide, and I'm very happy with the amount of detail I managed to fit into those. So even though the speed champion scale is a little wonky, and that is a comment we hear quite often in terms of, it's almost a bit of like you're building almost like a cartoony version of the cars that they're supposed to represent, but
Yeah.
really getting those details in there and using like the sign flags on the Porsche to sort of get that aerodynamic shaping in there that is very much like the real car. Yeah, so when you get to do stuff like that, that's something that makes me very happy. So, yep, a little proud of those. But I guess my favorite one is the one I'm working on now, so I can't talk to you about that.
Understandable. I can perfectly understand, and that's fair. Okay. All right, well, in that case, the next one, which is 4, which I forget the Spanish word for. Haha, 4 twice. Okay. Is there a favorite Lego set from your childhood you still cherish?
The fecal spider.
Oh my god. Okay.
I love it so much. It's adorable. Greatest polybag and some great recolors of orange bits and very creative parts usage all around.
The Chrome Crusher Power Drill.
Chrome Crusher.
Rock Raiders.
Oh. Interesting. Okay. All right.
Yeah, for me, it's probably gonna have to be the granite grinder, even though I never owned it as a kid. I think it's just my favorite thing ever because it's just a mech with a drill on it. And I remember building. I had a very interesting situation where, as a kid, of course, you're very limited to what your parents buy you, right? And I always, I don't think it's much of a secret. I like crazy stuff that's really off the walls, nuts. So I love time cruisers. I love Rock Raiders. I love all the crazy themes. And my parents were like, that's a bit too crazy. So often in those cases, I'm just like, well, I guess I'll just ask for this other Lego set and then build this Lego set out of it. It's like, yep, now I have a mech with 2 weird legs and a drill. And I also played a lot of the Rock Raiders video games, so it's very inspiring to me to see all the weird upgrades and stuff you can put on it. So I did that, or the hang on, what's it called? It's the mech from Life on Mars.
Oh gosh.
Not the red one, but the sand blue one.
I see it in my head. I don't remember the name.
I'm not sure if it had a name. Probably did, but not a name I knew as a kid. So, here we go. Yeah, so I recently bought the red one for an old Lego building day. Planet Praetor, is that right? I think that's it.
That might be it.
It's like a very when I look for a mech, I can only find the red one, by the way.
Red Planet Protector?
Yeah, I think it's a protector.
Yeah, it has red in the name, but it is blue.
Yeah, but it protects the red planet. There we go. 781. Not well. This is a very low definition, so I can't tell.
7313.
7313. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
I love that thing so much
because I was very skeptical about a rock on the floor.
Yep. It also rebuilt, so I had these jets on the back that you can like rotate and rebuild, and it was basically like very advanced mech building that we had back then because it was just click hinges and hinge plates. So way before ball joints, and that inspired me to build. I think from that point on, I only built mechs. So
wow.
I got it for my birthday that year, and it was great.
I'm looking at it now. It's a fascinating looking mech.
It's a weird one, I'll admit it, but it's one.
Is it using like a Belleville stand as a gun or something?
No, it's the. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. The weird.
That's weird.
Yeah, I love that.
Fantastic.
I'm just more impressed that they almost that those turbines on the hips almost disappear. That's not something we would do today. Today, marketing would be like, get them in there.
Get them on the front of the model. No, I recently got the red one, so I want to get the blue one again because I left most of my collection back at home. I can't be bothered to go back to get it, so I'd rather just bricklink a new one. And I cannot have 2 mechs, so my entire apartment is full of mechs.
Wow. You can never have enough mechs. Okay. And Leo's last question here is 5. Isn't Bionicle the best? Well, Leo,
yes.
There's your answer. Oh, okay. Phew. Okay.
I think so. I mean, probably, yes. I mean, it ran for 10 years, so...
Yeah?
They did something right.
Yeah.
How long did Scala run again? Was it 20?
I think it was 35.
Quite a while, yeah. No, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't simultaneously running. It had some on and offs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But Scala also pretty great.
No, but
you like weird colors.
I love.
It's definitely the most cherished childhood theme for me.
It's a lot of fun. Scala?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I love Scala.
Yeah.
Especially the figures. They're great.
Yep. They were cool.
I got the chance to see a bunch of the Scala baby figures at Brick Fair last year.
Oh yeah, great.
Just wreaking havoc and destroying practically everything they got their grubby, tiny plastic hands on.
Yeah, but they have so much fun when they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
All right, the next couple of questions here is from Anthony Wilson, a former guest on the show, an incredible mockist, and I believe the winner of your guys' Galidor contest in collaboration with Aerobricks.
Indeed.
He made some fantastic things.
Oh, yes. He has 2 questions. The first is, how did you both come together to collaborate on Galidor projects? Did both of you start getting interested in Galidor around the same time, or did one of you start getting interested in it and wanted the other to join in on the fun, or maybe somewhere in between? This is something we kind of touched upon a little earlier.
Yeah, it was just madness seeping into both at the same time. We had a bunch of Galidor laying around. Now here we are today, almost a year later.
Yep, and then this next question he has, I feel like this is going to be lost mostly on me, even though I have the set in question, so here we go. Not 100% sure if you'll be able to answer this, but it's worth a shot since Prince Galidor worked on the Ninjago movie sets. In the Green Ninja Mech Dragon set, there are 2 female mixel joint pieces that come in dark gray that almost exclusively come in light gray. There are only 4 sets that include this piece in this color, one that came out in 2016, and that one is a polybag, and never more than 2 of them in a set. Considering all the other mixel joints come exclusively in 1 color each, I wanted to ask why this piece got an exception and why it's so rare when it now exists in an alternative color for the part.
Superheroes,
so-
right?
I can't entirely answer all of the question because I worked on those sets, but I didn't finish off those sets, so I wasn't the one that put them in that color. I don't know exactly why it was put in that color, but I think it was probably because it's a very nice color for it to be in. But the set that did make it appear in that color was the superheroes, the Civil War Airport set.
Oh,
designed,
For
I
Ant-Man.
think, by the Justin Ramsden. But it was for Ant-Man.
Was it
in
the
his
Justin
shoulders.
Ramsden? I thought it was Marcus
The-
Nissen.
Justin Ramsden, I think, was the one that worked on it. I believe
Okay.
so. It was so it's for Ant-Man's shoulders. It was obviously black would have been the ideal color because he has a black suit, but a dark gray was a color that it was changed to. But I think specifically those pieces are kept in those colors for the best possible strength.
Mhm.
It just so happens that light gray and dark gray work the best, so they're kept in those colors.
Interesting.
For coding purposes as well, because we also have the 1x2 with ball on it, and 1-to-1 gets to get confused when they put them both together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they alternate in colors, so that you know which part you're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Anthony, I hope that answers your question adequately. We do have one more email here with 4 questions. This is from JJ Malik. And the first one is, what do you consider the most important parts of a brick-built dragon and a brick-built mech? And on a related note, what do you consider the best dragon and mech sets? He'll include dinosaurs as well.
God,
That's a big question. I mean, for dragons,
you
it's
take care of the dragon, I'll do the mech.
dragons is absolutely the head of the dragon, because that's where all the expression comes from. There's a lot of different things that can change. Like, I mean, the tail can be built in many different ways, and there's lots of there's nice ways to build those things. But if you have an amazing tail, but the eyes on the dragon aren't quite right, then the dragon really doesn't work. Versus if any of the other parts of the dragon are not as good, but the head is really nice, then that helps a lot. It's about getting the expression, especially in the eyes, like looking forward slightly, and then in the mouth that it can have a intimidating bite and expression. That's the most important part about a dragon. The wings are also very cool, but not essential. And after working on I think the Ninjago movie was where we really pushed ourselves to pretty much not have wings at all, because often Western dragons have wings, so when doing tests a lot with kids in Europe and America, if a dragon doesn't have wings, then sometimes it can be mistaken for a lizard. So we usually would try and give it as impressive wings as possible to make clear that yeah, this is a dragon. But then Chinese dragons don't have wings in that way, but they still definitely read as dragons. So I guess like after having the Ninjago movie with Lloyd's dragon in there, where it's much more of a Chinese dragon, it's been cool to sort of expand our horizon of exactly how a dragon needs to look, and kids still understand that yeah, this is a dragon, not an oversized lizard.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, especially given the Green Ninja Mech Dragon, the head of which is just immaculate. It's incredibly well constructed and has so much personality. So I can see exactly where you're coming from there.
The other important thing about dragons is including food items as details.
Food items or animals as details.
Yeah.
Croissants, very important.
Especially in gold.
Oh well, not yet.
Gold bananas, we haven't made them.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least we
Gold
have
bananas, yes.
Gold bananas. Yes. Yeah. I was very
Okay.
happy that we could do that.
So what about mechs?
I don't think there's any specific. So my favorite mech, I guess. What was your favorite dragon, Nick? Did you mention this?
Favorite
I think that's part
dragons.
of
I didn't mention, but I mean, I really like what the new dragons have been doing in Ninjago. Since I left, the Ninjago team has not stopped churning out amazing dragons. So I really like the variety in the newest ones of how many different types of builds you can get. The stone dragon, I've had a look at up close. I haven't built it myself yet, but
I have it in my hands right now.
Very
It's
very nice.
awesome.
Very nice build. A lot of fun, like very elegant solutions to building detail. Like it gets a lot of detail and character with not too many pieces, which I think is a really tricky thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Luis Castaneda did a fantastic job of that.
Same guy that did the fireman
Oh.
and the Garma mech man and the shark mech thing.
Yep. and the Iron Man Mandarin Ultimate Battle.
Oh yeah, he did actually do that one.
He did that one. That's
Easily.
my favorite of his.
His best. Definite. I feel like it really captured the internal struggle that Tony was having with PTSD, and then how it correlated with the Mandarin and his fire.
Yeah, actor.
It's all movie magic, love.
But yeah, mechs.
Yes.
So best mech. This is like an anime trope, right? Best. I think best mech. It's maybe a little biased, but I built the Hulkbuster from the Smash Up set. So the original Hulkbuster
Oh.
back from what is it, 2015?
2015, I think. Yep.
Yeah. Which is right. So I'm talking about this as a toy designer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that set, in my opinion, is the perfect mech toy because you can crash it, you can bash it. The build is very elegant. It's simple. It's straightforward, but most importantly, what it gets right is proportion. And that was what I was going to get at. For most important part of a mech isn't any individual part, but it's the way that it all falls together and make sure that the stance it does, the expression it has. Again, super robots are all about like crazy expression and making sure that it looks amazing. And just like there's something you can't describe about the proportions of a good super robot. They're just like, yes, this works. And I think that's very important for mechs. And that's, I think, why I like the Hulkbuster so much, because it has a very compact body and the legs are stubby and he looks like he just take a beating and also smash the Hulk.
That's a
Interesting.
very good answer. I was gonna say knees.
I'll kill you, Nick.
Exoforce is standing in the back shaking its fist.
Yeah, have you ever touched an Exoforce mech these days?
I have. In fact, my Chameleon Hunter is doing perfectly.
Chameleon Hunter doesn't have knees, though.
Yeah, it does.
To be
What?
fair, LJ, we got a
Yes.
lot of Exoforce mechs at Brick Fair. There was probably a reason why they just gave them away by the pallet.
Oh, I didn't need you to say that. Oh. Exoforce was like my second favorite theme after Bionicle. Gosh.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was one of my favorites as well. This Anthony's, you're right. Yeah, I forgot.
The ratchet joints.
Was it? It was a smaller set that didn't have for that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Different times.
That's for sure.
I kid. It is a great theme.
Oh yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's probably my second favorite theme after Bionicle, just because of amazing mech.
So, question numero dos. Any advice on building an elemental construction mock?
Just transparent pieces.
I mean, it depends on the element.
Like a cheating
If you're doing fire, then like flowing parts. Not necessarily. I wouldn't just cover it with trans neon orange pieces. Probably like try and explore other elements off the element that you could use. Like maybe pushing it more in a visual direction of lava or something, so that there's like some different like rock crack like lights underneath textures that you could play around with to do something more interesting with it. Or have
often what you see is that they're like too monochrome, right? So you want to have some kind of contrasting color in it that still makes the element as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
That's
like fire gets more sort of transparent and smoky up the top, so you could sort of play around with that to get some gradation happening across it. But then if it's plants, then there's so many other elements that you could pick from. Have choose some interesting fauna to try and replicate in the model. Maybe refer to dirt as well, in the way that it grows and the way that it's built together. Yeah, just really trying to, it depends on the element and really trying to channel the interesting things that maybe you haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I know it's cliche, but sometimes less is more. So if you overload your jungle elemental with like just leaves and everything, at one point you're gonna lose the ability to read it nicely. So
I think Nick disagrees with you on this.
Fill it with as many tiny parts as possible.
If there is any cavity left in the model at all, it needs to be filled immediately.
If you have any
grab as
connection
many
points
rubber
left,
pieces in there at all.
You should.
Oh, I
definitely
don't.
fill-
I
You're
didn't.
doing it wrong.
Well, we're talking about silhouette here.
I guess for an elemental, it's important. I'm somewhere in between.
All right, fair enough. So we've gotten both sides of the spectrum and then just right in the middle. I feel that's good. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean also as you're building it, take some time to step back from it as well and kind of see what it is you're making. After you can get really caught up in the details, and maybe you don't need all those details there. If you strip it away, it could become cleaner than it was before. Yeah, if you're working on a very detailed arm and then you're also working on a torso, then maybe you actually don't need all that detail in the torso because the arm is speaking more, or they're kind of conflicting with each other. So, I mean, taking a break occasionally and then like sharing it online to get sort of feedback from other people is also super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It can get you a bit of perspective, because if somebody else is seeing it for the first time, they might not read it in the same way that you've been doing because you've seen it for so long. So it's good to get those multiple perspectives.
Makes a lot of sense, especially it's a very similar instance with food. Like if you're making yourself a sandwich as opposed to having someone else make it for you, then it's much tastier when somebody else makes it for you because you're not used to the smells, the sights, the ingredients, because that desensitizes you. So it's always good, food's always better when you don't make it. Kind of a similar instance there. Always get a different perspective.
If we're using food analogy, a buffet thing, don't put all the different flavors on your plate.
Wow, that sounds contradictory with what I saw you do last weekend, Nick, when we went for food.
It's
pile all the
delicious.
food.
Sometimes
Nick-
you have to
Nick
mix
is very
together
much a guy
flavors that you've never seen before,
Oh my gosh.
like pizza and pineapple, apparently.
Oh yeah, it's good. Okay, question 3. Which is more likely, and I don't know if you guys would know this, but we're going to ask it for fun. Which is more likely to get a reboot? Bionicle, Throwbots, Galidor, or Robo Riders?
I don't think we could answer that question.
Yeah.
We don't want to give away future plans.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see that thing we posted on April? That was kind of cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, in fact, I think I have a picture of that I want to bring up real briefly. Let's see here. Yeah, this looks like the one. Gosh dang. Oh, wait, nope, that's the wrong picture. There we go. Okay. Alright, and then the fourth question is, for system themes, Galaxy Squad, UFO, or those weird racers from Lego Racers, the video game 2?
That's out of nowhere. Those Xylac?
Yeah, those are very specific choices. I mean, what about
Yeah,
Life
exactly.
on Mars? I'm going to pick Life on Mars to that question.
I agree. They were buildable aliens. They're great.
Yep.
But if I had to pick from those, I guess Galaxy Squad, because those sticker sheets were amazing. Also, the mech from the green car is great. The green car set in general is probably one of my favorite recent sets that was made. It's a great toy. Galaxy Squad for the win.
Okay, fair enough. Corvin?
No, I think I'll stick with the consensus here.
Okay. Alright, fair enough. Alright, those are the email questions. We do have one on Twitter. This is also from Wolk, and he asks, will we ever see copper in sets again?
Copper is which copper? Because copper is currently in sets. It's in Ninjago
Ninjago
City.
City. Get your Ninjago Cities right now. For sale, Lego store near you.
Yep, you get 6 pieces of copper in a $300 model.
Oh,
It's a pretty good exchange rate.
Definitely your best source of copper.
alright. Yeah, but Nick, you said in a Lego store near me. I live in Idaho. We don't have a Lego store.
Hey, don't give me that. Where I'm from, I never even seen a Lego store until I was already a man.
Yeah,
I came from New Zealand. I didn't get a Lego store until I flew to America. It was the longest trip I ever had to do to get a Pick-a-Brick cup.
Okay, fair.
I had to go to the US to go to the Lego store for the first time as well.
Kindred spirits in that case. We can all not have Lego stores. All right. In
I
this
mean, I have a
instance-
Lego store like 100 meters away now, but
Okay, do you want to get kicked out of the no Lego store club? Because we can do that. No.
I
Not
walk
fair.
past the Lego store on the way home every day.
My nearest Lego store, at least the one I frequent the most often at this point, is in Virginia. They're gonna have one in the convention this year.
Oh.
Yeah,
Cool.
we know. Oh, for real? Like a official Lego one?
Yeah, retail store in the convention.
Neat, I guess.
Oh boy, fun.
Okay.
Buy some more Ninjago Cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
but,
your copper swords.
well, I mean, it's in August, and it's rumored that the city docks, which I plan on picking up, is going to come out August 1st in the States. Unfortunately, I want to keep the box. I do not, however, want to try and bring it back with me.
Wait, you just want the box?
But no, I just want to keep the box.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not the rest?
Well, no, I want to keep the rest too, but I want to keep them all. Like everything, like the full package.
We're actually planning another building day with building Ninjago City 2 sometime, but it's hard because a couple of weeks are just completely rammed with us going on vacation. So,
Oh gosh.
we're gonna be all over the place over the next month or so.
Yeah, you guys are gonna be busy.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I actually have a new in-box Ninjago docks in my apartment. I can see it from here. I just haven't gotten around to building it yet. Because I kind of want to do it with friends, like make a special thing out of it.
That makes sense.
I'll have to wait.
You
Perfectly
build it at a brick
understandable.
fair.
Hmm?
Build it at a brick fair. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I don't want to take Lego with me to Brick Fair.
Well, get one at brick fair.
I mean, that's fair.
That's
That's
understandable.
fair.
All right, we'll go ahead and open up questions before we wrap up to the YouTube live chat. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them now, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things.
There are a couple of good ones that I think slipped past us in the.
Oh, that
in
might
the
be.
chat.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
scroll.
keeping one eye on it as well. Didn't find the appropriate time to.
Yeah, that's here. Okay, this is a good one. Biotoa7 asks, 1, if you can tell us what is the process in order to make a Lego set and product? And 2, as I build my own custom Lego parts, what are the requirements / allowed moments for designing a new Lego part?
There are a lot of different steps, steps that go into making a Lego set. Normally, it's at least sort of 2 years before. I mean, for some sets it's even more, but it's usually around 2 years from the beginning of an idea until the set finally reaches the market. And it needs to go through so many loops of both concept development. The set itself will be sort of developed as an idea. The theme that it's within, so within a wave of Ninjago, all of those sets need to be developed together to make sure that they make sense with each other, sort of on like a product group level. And then there's also a model level of is this set buildable? Does this set have interesting functions? Can we make it with the parts that we have? Does it stay together after a long time? There's so many different sort of steps of checking that need to happen. We also then need to work with building instructions developers to see that the people who will be making the building instructions for this set, can they have a logical flow to put together this model so that they can show instructions that are sort of clear enough for kids to be able to follow. Then also we need to talk with sort of packaging engineers to see if these parts can be put into this box, if there's enough space for that. If
marketing, if you can afford the model, and there's like 1,000 people.
Yeah, there's people for like doing the art on front of the box of how do we communicate this set. Does the set fit on a box? Often we'll sometimes need to make a model slightly shorter in order to fit better on the box that we want it to be in.
It's a long process, and it depends also per set. Like some sets don't have half of these, and others have like double of that. Like
sometimes there's an electrical motor in the set, and then
yeah, exactly, and then
everybody
just loses their mind.
Yeah,
it's very, very dependent. It's much like any kind of product development thing. It's dependent on the product, but then there's also just like so many different things that during the process can happen or go wrong. That mean you have to go back to a certain step or retrace some of your steps to make sure that the end result's good. So there's no correct answer there. There's just a lot of testing and a lot of looping, like going over it over and over.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. Let me see here. Rob Unboxes asks, is Construction dead?
Unfortunately, we cannot go into that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But
okay. Mr. Lego Lover 55, I'm sure he loves Lego, asks, what is your favorite type of Lego color? Solid colors, transparent colors, or metallic colors? And overall, what is your all-time favorite Lego color?
I love drum lacquer. It's very expensive and it's very fancy, and a lot of pieces exist in it, but it is very nice. And of course, Chima Yellow.
How dare you?
Chima Yellow for president.
Oh my gosh. I will remember this.
And teal. Chima Yellow and teal work perfectly together, especially when you add a little sprinkle of drum lacquer. I'm all about colors.
You mean to say Keat Orange and Kongu Green, yeah?
Yes, sure.
Key Kongu?
Bright turquoise, I think, is the
Well,
correct
there's that family of colors with like the purple and Keat Orange and teal, and my personal favorite, the dark blue or earth blue or 140 as it's known internally, which is they always seem to work together. It's like so.
Yeah, I have no idea which color that last one was.
140.
Stark blue.
Metro blue.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. I understand now.
I like all of them. I don't really have a preference of color. I like all of the colors in small doses. So I really like mixing, matching as many colors as possible. But some of my personal favorites that I've snuck into my sets are transparent neon green with glitter and transparent purple with glitter. I think that's really fun to get those into Ninjago sets.
All right. Fair enough.
And I
let me
wish we had more
see.
parts in those colors. Still haven't done a glitter color change, but that's on my list.
Here we go. Here's a good one.
Got really close recently, but that did.
Oh, dang. I can imagine like it's always a shame getting close to getting something you want done, but it just doesn't happen.
You just gotta have many plates spinning at the same time.
Many horses in the race.
Yes.
Yeah, it's called design. It's called design. It's basically, if you would give a full definition of the word design, it's just like getting really attached to many things and then immediately burning them all to the ground.
Understandable. Absolute legend Kevin A. Hinkle, you may be familiar with him, I'm not sure.
No.
He asks, taking Lego out of the equation, what's your favorite toy / collectible each?
Wait, is that not allowing Lego as a?
Yeah,
an
so
option?
no Lego.
Yeah, excluding Lego.
That makes that very difficult.
Yes.
And
Good.
I like
Grew
any
up with
form
Lego.
of Girl Lagan merch that I find, lay my eyes on, I will buy. So just robots, the action figure robots, I'll buy them all. Miniature games. I love miniature games. I spend a long time of my a lot of time on miniature games. It's like painting and playing the game. So it used to be one of the big things I was.
Okay.
I mean, it's not really a toy, but I like rocks. I have a small collection of rocks, but generally just unusual things. I collect
Overhead projectors.
bits and bobs.
Random
Multiple
junk from the-
copies of DVDs in foreign languages.
Oh my god! Yes. Nick,
Yeah, I have
Our house has I think we have Bionicle: The Legend Reborn in like 5 or 6 copies of that in like various languages.
What?
You have Sam Raimi's Spider-Man like 5 times over, I think.
I think I have about 14 Pirates of the Caribbean
What?
films. They're all great. I love them all very dearly.
What?
Does that answer?
The DVD rack is an absolute mess. It's just a nightmare.
I think. My goodness. At least none of you guys said, the MB word, so we're all good. All right. Let me see here. This is another good one from Biotoa7. 3D printed Lego pieces. What do you think of them? And if you have, do you have any favorite Lego pieces?
Well, there was like I can't remember. There were like some fan design masks for like that were really hard to get. Where the design was never available, so that's where the fans really stepped up. But it's all very vague.
I can tell. Okay.
I think I have somewhat of a weird skewed view here, where as a person who studied industrial design in the 2010s ish, the word 3D printing makes me throw up. It's just there all the time. It's like, and then you go to like a presentation and then I 3D printed it. And there's, oh my god, it's second coming. This is great. And it's like, no, I've had it. I don't want to do anything with 3D printing anymore. I was like the edgy kid that was like, no, I only do laser cutting. I'm retro with my technology. I only laser cut stuff. So I have a very, very strange bias against printed elements. Point that I just gonna never think about that at all.
I see.
But we use them at work, obviously, for prototyping.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing tool, especially within the Bionicle community, because it really lets you kind of reach further into the fandom and the lore of Bionicle than you sort of could traditionally. Because there's a lot of people who do really good work in the community making custom masks that represent masks that we never had official parts for. So I think that helps a lot with self marks and such, going into different spectrums. It's really cool that there's sort of a system where people can provide those masks to other people for use in their own creations.
I think it's going to get very interesting once the materials they 3D printed get better in quality.
Yeah, a little bit closer to the. I've even held a mask that was nigh indistinguishable from Lego, except for probably the back. It was incredibly impressive. They're stepping it up quickly. It's amazing.
There's
Just,
nothing a good sculpting tool can't do instead with clay. I'm a crafts guy. I'm not to say that 3D sculpting is of course amazing, especially what it can do for the community. Of course, yeah. I when I used to make custom pieces, it was sculpting with like clay and sculpting as well.
Yep.
Poly.
Yeah, that little man on the screen. He's just
Was Nick
good at
Bluetooth
sculpting
3D printed?
and touching.
Ha!
No 3D prints involved.
And a single 3D print. It was all
No.
just a lot of elbow grease, spit.
Yeah, and gratuitous amounts of Photoshop.
Yeah, that's,
Okay. Let me see. I believe this is a. I don't know if you guys will be able to answer this, since I don't know if any of you guys have worked on this theme specifically. JJ Malik asks, any chance of getting actual sets from the themes of Dimensions, not Brickheads? Speaking of Brickheads, are there any chances of getting one for Kit from Knight Rider, Atlas, Peabody from Portal, and what are the chances of getting stuff from, say, Knights Kingdom 2 that's not Nexonites?
I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, we can't really go into detail on like future themes.
Yeah.
We also haven't worked on those projects, so we don't really know too much about how the different things are selected.
Yep. There you go. Okay, I'll go ahead and leave it open to one more question. Nick, you think you'd mentioned you wanted to do something before we started. It was trivia based.
Oh, yeah.
I believe?
I had a few questions for you, actually.
Okay.
And I know this is a very very long stream, but I wanted to ask you some Bionicle trivia questions.
I was
if you
born
had-
for
if you
this.
had the time. I have with me an updated Bionicle encyclopedia from
Oh.
2007.
Yeah.
So I hope you don't have that. Otherwise, you should just be reading right now.
Oh, I have it.
So let's. Oh, good. Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you're not going to look in the book.
Nope. Totally from memory.
And let's see how this goes. Start with some questions about Liwa.
Uh-oh.
How long did Liwa float in the ocean?
1,000 years.
Very good. Very good.
Mhm.
Okay. Who broke Liwa's air katana?
Radak. The Paraka.
And who offered him a replacement?
Velika.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Can you explain to me the clan of Lee?
The Clan of Lee?
Yes.
Spell Lee.
LHII.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because it was either going to be Lee as in the mythological Matoran tale told by Vakama as sort of a fit-in, kind of a stand-in for Toa Lee Khan. And apparently he was this great lava surfer, legendary lava surfer, and he was kind of told as this boost to the Matoran of Ta Koro, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good.
Okay.
Excellent. I'm impressed so far.
Awesome.
oh god, how long is this gonna go on?
Alright, a Lorak. What is a Lorak?
Lorak.
Lorak.
Well, in the meta, at the very least, it is a combination model between Nadiki and Tragaduma Nivak. And in the story, it is a Rahi.
Very good. I like that.
I have
Okay,
not read the encyclopedia in years.
You clearly read it a lot.
I think it maybe
Lariska.
was.
Approximately how long has Lariska been a Dark Hunter?
Ooh, that's not something I'm going to know, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to guess. For whatever reason, I want to say 700 years, but I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, it's 10,000 years.
Oh, I was way off.
It's she is quite old.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
And
far off.
Dark
No,
Hunters
it's yeah.
very stable career prospects. So, all right. So, there are a couple, and I don't think it's particularly well known how many. But could you either tell me how many or tell me some of the rules of Coley?
Oh no. New Coley or old Coley?
Probably going with new Coley.
Okay. This is not something I'm well versed in. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you cannot pick up the Coley ball with your hands. You can only maneuver it with your feet and or with a Coley stick. And the second would probably be you cannot strike at another player with your hands, feet, or Coley stick.
Okay. Do you want to guess one more rule?
Oh gosh. That's all I got.
Okay.
Have fun.
The second one is pretty
Does it
good.
have fun?
Because well,
Ah, dang it.
yes. Rule number 9 out of 11 is any player who strikes another player did not play well. Shield and staff strikes occurring during play and deemed innocent in intent are not considered a violation of this rule. So that I think is partially correct.
Fair enough.
And then rule number 10 is any player who does not play well brings dishonor to his or her Koro.
Oof. Yikes. Dang.
But okay, yep, great. Kongu, this is an easier one.
Mhm.
Let me see. What did Kongu do in Metro Nui?
He was a shoot supervisor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. I think that almost just about does it. Almost. Two others.
Okay. Hit me.
Can you name the? I mean, I don't want to go for 42, but the primary Krata powers.
The main 6.
Yep.
Okay. There is disintegration, fragmentation, fear, anger, poison, and hunger.
That's 5 out of 6.
Wait, what? No, that's...
It's shattering
Ah.
instead of fragmentation.
Really? No, Mhm.
According to the updated Barnacle Encyclopedia, but it may have been updated since.
I mean, we all know that you should go to Biosector, right?
That's
So-
what I'm doing right now.
A little plug there.
Panrock. Staff of Fragmentation. Powers Fragmentation.
Okay.
Here we go.
No,
No,
according to Volk in the chat, it got renamed.
Yep, yeah, I see it in the trivia section on BSO1. The power fragmentation was originally known as shattering. There you go.
Great.
Okay, so some point past 2007, it was renamed.
Fair enough.
Cool. Okay. Excellent. Final question then. Can you name all the Chronicle?
Oh no. So Zakal. Zakal. Because there are 2. ZA and XA.
Yes.
Oh no. There are 8 of them. Vukal, I want to say.
Yes.
Zukal.
Um,
No Zukal? Zio?
no Zukal.
Okay, fair enough. No, I fold. That's about it.
Okay.
Krana and Krata are my weak points.
Krana are very unintuitive. For there being 8 as a start, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It does make sense. Side trivia, but not in a lore way.
Yeah.
So quickly for the question, it was Bokal, Kakal, Jakal, Sukal, and then the other one was Yokal.
Nuts. Yeah.
We all learned something.
But
Yeah,
so
nah.
for
That's
the Krana Kal being, or Krana being 8 forms, the reason behind that is because those parts were, the Krana were randomly distributed in different sets. But the way that was done was still having, usually when parts are made, bricks are made in a mold, you make a bunch of parts at the same time, and then you dump them all into a bin, and then that bin is put into another bin, and then
Normally
from that
it's like
bin,
they're all the same.
kind of
So
taken
normally
into sets.
you have a
Normally,
mold and it pushes out like 8 2x4 bricks. Boom.
yep, one at a time. And then you can actually like see on the inside there's a little number that says which of the position that brick came out of. But then, so in the case of Krana, what was actually done was that each of the different spots in the mold was a different shaped Krana. And there were 8 spots available in the mold. There was enough space in the mold for 8, so they did 8 different designs. And then when each time a bunch of Krana were molded and popped out, 8 of the different forms fell into the same bin, and then that was all put into a bigger bin, and then taken out and put into the sets, which meant that there was an equal distribution of all 8 Krana. So it was you never kind of knew which Krana there was, but you'd always
Even
just
Lego
know that
didn't
there's
know.
one of the approximate size. They were all kind of the same weight, so they all kind of fit through as if it was the same part.
That makes a lot of sense and is unbelievably fascinating to know. Like, Nick, you mentioned this on Twitter, that fascinating tidbit about melded colored pieces.
Yep. Yeah. So in the same way, if you have a multi-molded part, so a Bionicle mask that has 2 different shots of color in it, it's I mean, the best example is the infected How Nuva that's got a shot of red and a shot of green. It's sort of a special molding machine that shoots in plastic sort of at 2 different spots at the same time, and then the plastic kind of mixes together in the middle. That'll happen in each of the, like in this case, 4 different spots in the mold, but because of the lengths of the sort of tubes leading into the mold, those flow patterns will be very slightly different between each of the 4 spots in the mold, but it will be completely consistent between batches. So you get 4 distinct flow patterns that you can kind of see on the mask, which is why we have 4 different masks to collect. And then if you look on the inside of the mask, there's a little number that indicates which of those 4 it is, so you can kind of check and verify that this is you have all 4. That wasn't the intent of those numbers. It's normally so that if there's a problem with the mold, you can see which brick it's coming from. But then it was, coincidentally helpful for collectors to identify. But the side effect of that is that every single mask that has 2 different colors mixing together will have that many different unique variations. So it's not just the How Nuva, it's also some of the all of the Metru Matoran masks have 2 different colors. So there are, I think, probably 4 of each of those masks to collect that people should collect in order to say that they have a full Bionicle mask collection. There is also, I mean, some of the Mari Toa Mari as
Only
well.
some of them.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, all of them have unique variations because the numbers are different. But just in visible difference, there's a couple. Then there's all of G2 as well. Most of the masks there are all dual flows. So by the time it was in G2, I think it's 8 unique mold cavities, so 8 unique flows for each one of the Toa protectors and some of the beasts as well. Yep. And the creatures, if you count those 2. So it's just one of those little trivia things of happy collecting.
Yeah, I'm
Get
glad
going.
I'm not that hardcore. I think that upon hearing that, I would have torn my hair out.
I really hope that nobody is that hard.
There are 2 people
Like,
I
I
can
can't
think of.
imagine. I can't imagine actually doing this where it's like, hey, go buy random sets and hope that the number on the inside says 3.
If it's any consolation, the Krata do not have the random flow variation because each of the, I'm not sure exactly, is it 8 different shapes of Krata? Those are the flow variants kind of thing. So each shape also has a different flow, but because each shape comes from the same mold, there is no there are no like duplicates of same shapes in different colors.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So you
thank
don't
goodness.
have to collect that intensely. It's merely just 52 different versions.
Only cuts it down by however
It cuts
many.
down to just 270 something.
Oh, thank
That's
goodness.
That's fine.
Well, oh gosh. Yeah, no, pass. But now you know. That is, I found that to be utterly fascinating. Well,
Yeah, Quick Carapatu, they're also affected.
oh gosh.
Yeah,
Anything with molding.
Palma.
Goast, Bittle.
Well,
Pridak. Don't forget Pridak.
oh
Oh, yeah.
gosh. I remember there was like a small controversy with him, given like everyone thought, oh,
Oh
it's
no,
blood.
let's not talk about that controversy.
All those lovely face markings.
Yeah, they're
Tribal
natural
oh no, not
markings.
tribal tattoos either. They're all face marking.
Yeah.
Even the ones on his swords.
Of course. Of course. Those especially. In that case, we're gonna
Is
go
it
ahead
worth
and...
mentioning?
What was that?
Is it worth mentioning that we're all going to be at Brick Fair this year?
That's actually exactly the lead into this next question, the last one from Kevin Hinkle. And he says, as you're all fans of the LEGO hobby, outside of your employment, any events upcoming where we can meet you in real life and present you with a 3D printed copy of each of your likenesses?
Um,
How does that work? I don't like the fact that Kevin has a 3D file of my likeness. I don't know how he
Nick,
done it.
we're canceling Brick Fair.
No!
We-
So we're going to be at Brick Fair, and
Brick Fair.
we're also going to be fun at Comic-Con around. Probably be there as well if
Awesome.
Corvin manages to get us there with the car.
yes.
I'm the designated driver.
Thank goodness.
I wouldn't trust either of the other people in the car to drive it, so that's fine.
Well, you don't have a license, so you're out.
Correct.
That's usually a good factor for determining these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be some kind of AFOL party at Comic-Con before or right after. We're looking at seeing if we can butt into that. That'd be great.
Awesome.
But yeah, Brick Fair #1. We're looking forward to that. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it will be. It's gonna be the best. For anyone wondering, that's Brick Fair, Virginia, 2018. It's in Chantilly,
I still
Virginia.
need to buy my tickets for Brick Fair. Actually,
What the
I
heck,
didn't,
man?
not plane tickets, just entry thing.
Yeah, no, you gotta register so you can get behind the scenes for the extra day. Cause
Get
like,
that Brick badge.
yeah, no, the price is gonna go up pretty soon, like next month.
Oh boy,
You gotta get in fast. But yeah,
I'm
no.
already stressed out.
Brick Fair, Virginia. It's in Chantilly, Virginia. Tune in every Saturday of July. I'm going to have a guest every single Saturday related to Brick Fair, so you should definitely check that out if you're going. Definitely go. I'm going to be there. These three gentlemen are going to be there. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be awesome. Kevin Hinkle's going to be there. You can't miss Kevin.
Oh yeah. Come
I'm
see
looking
Kevin.
forward to hanging out with Kevin again. I haven't seen him in a while, so
Me too. It's going to be great.
It's gonna be great.
Introducing pineapple pizza. Okay, well,
Yeah.
gentlemen,
Maybe we'll have.
I appreciate it greatly. It has been a blast talking to all of you and learning
It's
all
been
of
a
these
pleasure.
things. Been absolutely wonderful. Where can people find you on social media if they want to see Galidor creations, Lego creations, or just anything that you guys do?
that's
Well, I've already plugged myself, but I'll plug myself again. Prince Galidor at Twitter. If you want to see daily Galidor creations. If you don't want to see daily Galidor creations, you can still go there and see them. Or also
occasionally.
on Flickr as well. I have a Prince Galidor account set up where I think I post them 100 at a time. So that's every couple of months. You get a lot, and then nothing else for a while. So that's also an option, depending on your viewing preferences.
Okay.
Yeah, so my Twitter is Toothdominoes. You can see on the screen there. It's my username, and it's also my Flickr name. So yeah, I have a couple of creations up on Flickr, and then there's also the just a daily onslaught of Galidor happening on Twitter. In addition to occasionally I post a piece of artwork, and then sometimes a person looks at it and likes it, and then sometimes don't even look at it at all. So I know most people are there for the Galidor, so I won't beat around the bush. Occasionally I post old Lego sets that I build, or plug like a mock that I build, or music. Sometimes people don't really care about it. So I just want more Galidor.
And I go by @Ferrain on Twitter, and on Flickr you can find me just under Corvin, just as my name. As mentioned before, I'm Vezok's friend on BZ Power, although I'm very active outside of the RPG forum there. And that's about it.
Fantastic. Well, once again, it's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. It's always a blast. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, answer so many questions, and hopefully you've all had a good time.
Cool. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you to anybody who stuck around for the whole thing.
Hi, Kevin.
Sorry
Miss
if we
you.
didn't answer your question, I guess, because I did see quite a few questions pop up where I just haven't got the chance to answer it. I think we all know what that means, right? We need another episode.
Oh, yes. No, and you guys are welcome anytime we can schedule it, and we'll have another 3-hour episode.
Hang on, that's actually... Was it 3 hours?
It
It
is
was
currently-
3 hours. Oh, geez. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, we're about to be. But we're going to go ahead and cut things
Quick.
short. Thank you
Quick,
all.
cut the stream.
Yeah, thank you all for listening and sending in your questions. It's always a joy, whether it be live or in the time between episodes, or listening to it after the episode has been finished recording and has been posted. Greatly appreciate it, and hopefully you've all had a good time as well. The Eljay Johnsen Show airs every single Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise, in which case updates are on my Twitter, the Eljay Johnsen, where you can find updates to the show and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And if almost had it. If you have any questions over the week, make sure to send them into my email, ljjohnson@gmail.com. It makes sure that I know exactly where they are, and they will be asked, provided no technological mayhem occurs prior to the asking. So, that's everything. Thank you all so very much. We will see you all next time. Have a fantastic day.